Rahubat Moisar, and welcome to another live reading. Our scroll for today will be Actual Fact, series number 18, entitled Tone, Sound, DNA Molecules, Vibrational Frequencies. All right, before we get into our reading, we're going to start by acknowledging ourselves, empower each other, and our master teacher who brings us together. All right, so let's start by doing a few breathing exercises. All right, so you're going to start with the all expanding. So you're going to say to yourself whenever you need support, guidance, healing, or help, you're going to say, Paa Taraq Yaanun. Baabaa Yaanun. And you're going to see the image of Pa'ut, our sacred symbol. And you're going to take a deep breath in, and you're going to feel the support, love, healing from Paa Taraq as you accept that support, love, healing, and guidance. And you're going to hold it and absorb that life force. And you exhale, all right? That same love, support, healing, guidance, wisdom to your fellow brothers and sisters. So, Paa Taraq Yaanun. Open the way to the soul of Yaanun. Rawuk soul, spark of life, breath of life. The very soul of humanity. Open the door towards who? Him. All right? As you remember who you are, despite all the movements of everything that ever was, you're going back to who you really are, not what you became. All right? So open the door towards him. And you're going to notice that inwardness. All right? As you feel your heart seat. All right? Because we need at least one working chamber to get out of here. All right? So that's what we need to heal. All right? And you could feel yourself healing alongside your fellow brothers and sisters. And now you have accepted yourself in the many dimensions, all right, from your good and bad, all right? And then you look around through all your external reality and the good and bad. And then you see powers, and everything is in its proper place, proper time, because you are in your proper place and time. And you accept yourself as powers. So now you're going to assess, all right, what kind of image am I in? How am I breathing? All right. So you're going to remember your diaphragm, which is a big muscle. All right. Now, this breathing exercise is so important when it comes to the scroll that we'll be reading today, vibrational frequencies. All right. Because as you read the breath book, you're going to see, you're going to have rhythmic breathing. And now we see from our tone wavelength A, the importance of the breath when it comes to regulating the heartbeat again. All right, so you're going to assess yourself in your many dimensions because your nose itself is a gateway between your etherical reality and your physical reality. And you're doing work on both sides through your very breath. All right, so you're going to allow your stomach to relax as you breathe in because that's your diaphragm that has the space to descend downward. All right, so it descends downward, acts like a vacuum. When your stomach goes out, pulling air into your lungs. All right, so we don't just deep breathe. We SMI breathe. SMI meaning complete union. So deep, out, and up. So we have all aspects of ourselves without leaving anything out. All right, that's how you tap into your potential. All right, and then you start to see the alignment, not just through your lungs, but in all your dimensions, from your physical body, all right, your emotional body, your mental body, all right, and you feel yourself work through whatever is on your mind or your heart, and you come into the present. And that's why you say now is happening, all right, in the past, then, and then in the future, it's happening, all taking place right now. And now you can imagine your breath something that's very, your first confirmation is you. You can confirm that right now through your breath. And we have to learn how to rebreathe. All right. So take time, all right, to read the breath book on your own. And there's 3 exercises that Baabaa says to do every day. That's your nerve revitalizing breath. All right. Your vocal breath. And of course, your cleansing breath, which goes on the back of most exercises. Your nerve revitalizing breath because you need your nervous system, all right, for your very existence, for your very perception, because you perceive your inner reality and outer reality through your very nervous system, all right, through your neurotransmitters. That's why reading a scroll itself, as Baabaa explains, is that's neuroscience, all right? So you're giving yourself a neurosurgery. And why is that? Because you're creating new neural pathways all the time. And as you usher in a better reality, a better version of yourself, all right? So one neural pathway replaces another one, all right? And that's all your nervous system. So your very willpower, that's the seat of the will, is on your nervous system. So as you strengthen your nervous system, you have revitalization. You hear to do again, as in and vitality, vitalization, bringing life back into your nervous system, which will help your willpower. All right, you make better decisions. All right, you communicate more effectively because you're interacting with your outside stimuli so much better, as well as your internal dialogue, your internal stimuli. All right, because your cells being aware of each other, that's all through your nervous system. They use the highway of the nervous system. All right. So that's why that's one of our sacred breaths that we do every day, all right, to heal ourselves. We also do the vocal breath as we are taking our story back, all right, and as we bring soul back into the voice, all right, because how we, the tone in which we speak, sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You're tone deaf. Now you got into an argument, all right, or because you didn't have that self-awareness, so you weren't in touch with your tones. So you be more mindful by doing the vocal breath, and you have more pleasantness, roundness, and flexibility to your voice. And of course, your cleansing breath, if you're talking a lot and just doing things that require just living, all right, you get to ventilate your lungs, all right. So these are the exercises that at some point we'll go over all of them, all right, because there's a lot more than 3, all right. So everything that I share with you, I'm going to acknowledge our master teacher because I got them from reading his scrolls and through life itself, through my own confirmations of just living life. All right. So we acknowledge our master teacher who brings us together in this divine circle of healing for the purpose of renewing our story as one people, one soul family. Ashuk. Adoy cloud to polorat, hufa kur bisamus papaut. Begin all prayers and thinking by using the all expanding. One thing you want to be is useful. You want to be useful to your collective body. All right. You play a part. All right. You play your part. All right. By using the all expanding. So now as you appreciate the part you play, you should appreciate the part that everyone else plays in poets. And use your thing of all expanding. You have right on your face, your nose, all right, which is a thing of all expanding. It's a thing of opening. So use your thing of all expanding. That's your breath, your samai breath, your complete union breath. Baror, 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 nabab natad muktad. Now it's muktad beded patah. Now it's muklas beded Yaanun. Holy, holy, holy. Master Overseer Almighty. Holy as in the holy seed, the whole story. Because what is greater than Pa'ut as our Master Overseer? As you notice that bridge to salvation that we're on, as we take a long walk on a short path. That is Pa'ut. No God except Ptah. Notice that that's an inward journey as you open your heart seat in Pa'ut and you say to yourself, I am responsible. The helping hand is at the end of your own arm. Ashuk is the key, but it is you who opens the door. No savior except Yaanun, O inert one, the very soul of the people, because you cannot lie to yourself. Ashuk. And we affirm, we're going to do the affirmation, that I am in the divine love of the all expanding, and all divine love is in me. And take that deep breath and accept that healing love support, that unconditional love from Panagadi. And exhale that same love, support, healing to each other. And our master teacher sits at the center as our Zeti, who brings us together for the purpose of healing our story, as a flesh and blood, living and breathing like us, from us, for us, to us, sent to us, by us, back to us. All right, that's our story. All right, as one people. Paa Taraq. Anuki Jaweth Pa Ashuk and Pa Pahut. Wu Kalal Ashuk Kawun Jaweth Niya. Anuki Kasamun and Pa Pahut. Wu Pa Pahut Kawun Kasamun and Niya. Anuki Wahu Ame Pa Pahut. Wu Pa Pahut Kawun Wahu Ame Niya. Nakuk Kadod Naja Ame Kasam Em Pa Pahut. Wu Chabub Ame Mushkas Nakuk Kadod Kawan Kalal Pafet Nakuk Ayo Jawef Pa Pahut. Ame Wase Ame Ayani Kowun Lake Bakor Jawef Pa Pahut. Anuki Abed Biye Nafashni. Pa Pahut Kawun Anuki. Pa Pahut Kador Nakuk Kador. Pa Pahut Amor Nakuk Amor. The all is, I am. The all can, I can. The all does, I do. And this is the scroll that we will be reading today. And we acknowledge that this book is the truth and the way. Paa Sawabu Paa Taraq. Panin Mispa Kawun. Paa Sawabu Paa Taraq. Ze Kawuna Nazulala He Amtkum. Mane Maspatwu Masa'a. Ama Hadea Mumudama'un. Mane Musafukum. Unataru. Arjulaye Nafashukum. Alfukshane Kawunkum. Pasawabu Pataruk. Pahadeamu Padama. Nahun Sawuanskum. Lahe Panenda Malwu Shafe. Nahun Sawuanskum. Lahetem Nasoinu. Nahun Sawuanskum. Lahe Ashakuma. Anskuma ter muslafunu. Nahun ater makrarukum. Nahun salub nasad kuma. Nahun salub nasad kuma. Ansanun kahena taru. Ansanun musafunun. Nahun ater muspatu. Anun atun. Atun. Amun. We are Sabians. Tawakum Nataru. Wu Mundaru. And Tawatak Mundar Baabaa Yaanun in the personage of His Excellency, Dr. Malachi York Okran. And Tawakum Moisar, as we are doing our very best to transform into the very best versions of ourselves and our one collective body. I appreciate each and every one of us who's doing our part to heal. And our scroll today, that'll be very helpful in our journey, will be Actual Fact. Series number 18, Tone, Sound, DNA Molecules by Vibrational Frequencies. All right. So just take a moment to look at the scroll. All right. So you see our sacred trio, which is Hu, Sia, and Hika. All right. Matter, space, and time. All right, that's what we learned in the other scroll, that they all manifest at the same time. All right, we're going to learn more about that in this scroll too. And a little bit about the author, Shil Pa Hanutu, known to us as His Excellency Malachi York. All right, Pa Hanutu is the Amun priesthood. All right, so now you know Amun deals with the hidden things. So now it's time to secrete the secrets. Born Tuesday. All right, Kobina means born Tuesday, June 26, 1945 AD. In Takoradi, Ghana, West Africa, still living. All right. And in this particular scroll, you see, Baba, one of the hats that he wears is transmitter, the transmitter. All right. So when you say transmit, it means to deliver a message. All right. From cell to cell. And that's what happens in your very body itself. You have neurotransmitters, all right? So that's the spark that's going on between each cell, all right? So Baba, as the opener, his job is to spark you. All right. So usually a lot of the scrolls, they start with 9 reasons to be a Nuwapian and not them. That's the introduction. And then also sometimes you'll see there's 9 reasons to be a Sabian. Rahubat Stanley, Zamal, I see you unmuted. Zamal Stanley. All right. So everybody's feel free to unmute if you ever have anything to say, but if you don't have something to say, just stay muted because it makes a feedback. All right. So let's continue. All right. So, oh yeah. So sometimes you see the 9 reasons to be a Sabian. Sometimes you see 9 reasons to be a Nuwapian. All right. So take some time. It's a scroll within itself. Sometimes we read it together if we have enough time. Sometimes we don't. Today we're going to skip it. So take time to read to yourself. So let's get right into our reading. And feel free, everybody, to unmute at any time. Tone, sound, DNA molecules, vibrational frequencies, universe, earth, you, F sharp, and harmonics. All right, so let's read the top. It says, Pa Safun Mayatat Shil Pa Nadar Amanub Reakta Pa Hanut Zeti, which is English. It says, the sacred papyrus of Amanub Reakta or Melchizedek. Be Pa Renan Shil Re. Anun Wu Atun Wu Amun. By way of the names of Sun, Anun and Atun, meaning self-sufficient, Atun meaning unique one, and Amun, hidden one. Pa Safur Shil, Dajutat, eyes. the scroll of eyes. All right, this is the scroll of eyes. All right, because it's meant to open your inner eye, which we call this a mitzvah. All right, so now you know it's a thing of opening. Let's get right into our reading. 1. Sound relates to you and what you receive from space and beyond. 2. Sound and its relation to solids, liquids, and matter, such as structures of stone, liquid gold, and your brain. 3. As you built Paa Taraq, the pyramids and their electromagnetic effect and how they relate to the stars or gateways by resonance and sonic abilities of those structures and your own genes and physical structure. What was the last scroll we read together? We read The Age of Adamite Past. That's what we read before. And it talked about how we physically have earth available to us. All right. And then we learned that the quickest distance between 2 points is not a straight line, because by the time you get to a certain structure, all right, as we learn about how fast light year travels, all right, so how fast light travels in 1 year, you have to at least go 182,800 and change, whatever that number is. But 100, let's just round it up to 182,000 miles per second. That's how fast you have to go. And if you can go that fast, all right, that's how fast light travels in a year. By the time you get to that planet or to that point, if you can travel that fast, you'll be dead, all right, if you're going on timelines. But if you go on resonance, you're there instantaneously, because if you can get on the same vibration, all right, you can get in touch with that point through a vibration. All right. So you built Paa Taraq, the pyramids, and their electromagnetic effect and how they relate to the stars or gateways by resonance and sonic abilities of those structures and your own genes and physical structure. For it all relates to the notes and forms of F sharp chord, which we Tamarayans recorded as the harmonic of this planet Paa Yaanun, all right, or Earth. All right, so we know Earth vibration is F. 5. And the chamber of Khufu Mir, in there are the frequencies that range from 19 hertz down to a half hertz, that being below the range of mortals' hearing. All right, just for your own, just so you know that most humans, I mean, you do have a few exceptions that they can hear into other dimensions, all right? But most humans, what we can physically pick up in our vibrations, where we make that as sound, the human hearing, they hear between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz. All right, anything above 20 kilohertz is outside of the range of human hearing. Anything below 20 hertz is below of what you'll pick up as what you can hear. All right, so right below that, we're in 19 hertz. That's Khufu's mirror. All right, so just below of what you can physically hear. 6, these vibrations, all right, so 6, these vibrations are caused by the wind blowing across the ends of the hair shafts, just as the blowing over a bottle. All right, so if you ever drink a bottle, or you like some type of soda bottle or something, you leave it out, sometimes you'll hear the vibration of the wind passing over it, and it causes that vibration, it causes that bottle to vibrate, and then you'll hear it. All right, but there's vibrations that's happening outside of your range of hearing all the time as well. All right, so now infrasound. All right, so we're in infrasound, ultrasound, intrasound. All right, so something I was looking up 19 hertz. If you look up where 19 hertz, where does that fall in? 19 hertz falls in the realm of infrasound. That is low frequency sound. All right. They use, like meteorologists and different people like that, they use infrasound to monitor earthquakes, volcanoes, charting rocks, and that's also what they use to find petroleum formations below the earth. All right. Infrasound characterized by ability to get around obstacles with little dissipation. And there was a scientist in 1957 named Vladimir Guru. All right. He was from France, and he was researching infrasonic waves. All right. So he had noticed that there was a building that they thought there was some type of toxicity. So they thought there was some type of chemical that was making the people sick. All right. And what was happening inside that building was that people were getting sick, and so they thought it was a chemical, and it was causing them to be nauseous and other problems. But then when they found out that it was actually a low speed motor, so it was a low speed motor that was kind of out of, they needed to fix that motor. And that motor was developing this vibration that made people nauseous. So what they called it was a nauseating vibration. All right. So it was just the motor that was vibrating, and it was making people throw up or want to throw up. All right. They thought it was chemical. They thought it was chemical poisoning, and it turns out it was just sound poisoning. They were able to fix it. All right. 7. Tone, sound, vibration, color as matter. Solid, gas, liquid, incarnation and manifestation of all things. All right. All things vibrate. Anything that's in existence, there's a vibration behind it. All right. So incarnation, all right, when you hear the word carnal, you hear the word animal. Carnal, your carnal desires, your animalistic. Animate means to exist. Animate means to move energy from one point to another. So that's where you get animal, because an animal is a vehicle of energy that moves a point from one point to another. So that's how it's animated. All right. Or incarnate, carnal, again, you go back to animal. So when you incarnate, all right, that means to exist in a physical way. All right. So to incarnate or to manifestation of all things. 8. It all relates to F sharp, which is the resonant chord of planet Earth. 9. Just as everything else in this universe vibrates, and these vibrations produce waves. At certain levels, the human ear can sense these waves or vibrations and call them sound. All right. So those vibrations are existing below the human senses and above the human senses. And when it goes into a certain vibration where we can pick it up or sense it, that's when we call it sound. Human beings have learned to develop the ability to use these vibrations of sounds to make music of all kinds. You have constructive and destructive tones. And this reflects in the use of tones in all forms of all names or vibrational reactions to certain sounds, which each becomes labeled and links them to all kinds of forces that vibrate on those same tones or names. All right. So we're connecting to those vibrations, whether it's below your senses or above your senses, you can still connect to that. All right. Because nowadays you have different machines, all right, that can measure. Before I continue reading, can somebody just unmute and just tell me if I could be heard? So I remember last time I was reading the scroll and I forgot to ask. All right. Can I be heard, Moisar?
Samantha, you can be heard well.
Okay. Tell ahead, Zamal. Appreciate that. All right. All right. So, and then also anybody, at any time there's something that you know you want to add on, ask a question, everybody's free to unmute as we're reading. All right. So human beings have learned to develop the ability to use these vibrations of sound to make music of all kinds, constructive and destructive tones. And this reflects in the use of tones in the form of all names and vibrational reactions to certain sounds. All right, so for every action, there's a reaction. All right. So you have vibrational reactions to certain sounds, which each becomes labeled. All right. So now when you go into another realm, like you have a microwave, you have an infrared, you have a ultra wave, you have all these different, you end up in different dimensions. You start to name them, all right, depending on the effect that they're having. All right. Or where are they affecting? What part of the being gets affected? All right. And links them to all kinds of forces that vibrate on those same tones. All right. So when you say construct means to build up something, you say destruct, that means to take something and take it apart. All right. So the constructive doesn't always have to be a good thing or a bad thing, and destructive doesn't always have to be a bad thing or a good thing, because you can destroy something in order to build something else. So let's just say you want to, you're putting together certain structures and you want to create a certain shape. You have to destroy, around the outside to make the perfect square. All right. You could chip away. Or if you want to construct something, you build on top of it. And also the example with that in 1957, where the people thought that there was some chemical poisoning. It turns out that it was just a vibrational. One of the motors was on the wrong frequency and it was out of alignment. And they had to fix the motor, and then the people weren't sick anymore. All right. So you could see that different vibrational reactions to sounds. All right. Some people, they listen to music and it makes them want to go out and fight and kill people. All right. 10. If you use a Hebrew name, it's only a tone and a vibration. Every time you're called, that tone vibrates inside of you and links you to every other being with that same tone who vibrates on that same level, be they dead or alive. Alive would be the sound of your same name, yet the dead are always listening to take over the living's bodies. And by having a name, tone, vibration, frequency of their religious tones, you open your being to any and all kinds of forces, such as ghost, spirit, ghouls, specter, that responds to that tone you live under. All right. And then you could also attest to that, because you can notice you might have a couple names, and when somebody calls you outside of a name that you're comfortable with them calling, you'll hear your name, but it sets off an alarm. Like, why are you calling me that? All right. All right. So, or, the different ways that somebody talks to you, it could inspire a different part of you. All right. That's why it's so important that Baabaa gives us that exercise. All right. The vocal breath, so we can heal our tones. All right. Because a lot of times we're triggering people through our tones. All right. Because we know that we're not just affected by tones, we can affect because we also have tones. That's the beauty of healing our own tones. All right. And then also the names itself, because you're vibrating from a Hebrew name, that's going to take you to a Hebrew agenda. All right. That's why Baabaa is saying give them everything back, including their names, and go by a new name. All right. A new name, which is really your older names that take you back to your own culture. All right. 11. So even music opens the gates or abodes to lower realms by making waves at different pitches and volumes. 12. These music notes reveal to you the invisible vibrations of the world and the universe, upper and lower, all around you. All right, so you're going to be opening the evidence. All right, so what's invisible around you, you'll feel. All right, you'll sense it. Even if you can't hear it, those people, they didn't hear the sound. All right, because what was it vibrating on? A low speed motor. I think it was vibrating. I forgot where it was. I didn't write down the vibration, but it was below what they could physically, they could sound hear. They couldn't hear it, but their body picked it up. And even though their ears didn't pick it up, their physical ears didn't pick it up, their physical bodies did. Right, and they were able to sense something was off. Right. So that's the importance of Baabaa getting us back to our chanting again and things like that. All right, because a lot of us, we being put against each other and this person and this gossip and that and all this, that's being done by vibrate. Part of it is the vibrations. All right, and then you vibrating on that, and then you have these entities that are waiting to utilize, all right, utilize the family to work against their own interest. And you end up working against your own interests and partaking in things and you're like, it's destroying me, but why do I want to do it so bad? It could be on what you're vibrating on. All right. So we want to heal our tones. We'll learn more about that. So even music opens the gates or abodes to lower realms by making waves at different pitches and volumes. 12. These music notes reveal to you the invisible vibrations of the world and universe, upper and lower, all around you. 13, just because you can't hear or you can't see them does not mean that they can't use you. It's the range of waves and vibrations. These intrasounds and ultrasounds waves appear, they are not there, but they are. All right. So Bob is saying just because you can't physically see it, you can't hear it, that doesn't mean it's not there, and it doesn't mean that they can't use you. All right. They will use you in the form of intrasounds and ultrasounds. All right. Why? Because you have something in physics is called the law of vibration. And anything in the physical domain and even outside of the physical domain is in the law of vibration. All right. So it has to respect the laws of vibration. All right. So that's why you, even though you can't see it, you can't hear it, you might not even be able to taste it, but you feel it. All right. And then you start whichever way, whether you start to heal or you start getting sick and you don't even know why you're sick. But that guy was a scientist and then he found the cause of it. It was one of the motors. All right. 14. So when you use F sharp on an instrument or voice, there is a reaction. You must overstand sharps and understand flats and then major tones, because there are many F sharps on different pitches that you cannot hear. And some animals are open to tones that you cannot hear. You are not like dogs, which are used by lower frequencies to get into your lives, your homes, your children's, and then into your emotions. All right. And I see that. Like I was walking, and then I saw one of my coworkers. She was standing in front of me, and she always has this hard look, and then she was just so soft. I'm like, oh, and I was like, what are you looking at? And then I turned around, and it was this ugly little dog, and I'm like, wow. But I see children walk past, and I'm like, they don't see the children, but they see a dog, and they're like, oh. So it's used to get into your emotions, into your homes. And just think about it. A dog, for example, you blow the dog whistle, you don't hear it, but all the other dogs, they'll come running. All right, they hear it. All right, so there's different animals that pick up different. So for the human animal, most human animals, their hearing apparatus, it picks up 20 hertz. This is the human hearing zone, 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Below that, you can't hear. So the Khufu's mirror, all right, or Khufu's pyramid was just underneath that. All right, it was 19 hertz, and it went all the way down to a half hertz. So you're definitely not going to hear half hertz. And maybe very, very sensitive people might be able to hear 19 hertz, but you'll feel it. So something is going on in that pyramid. All right. All right. So just because you can't see them and it doesn't mean that they can't use you. All right. Let me see. You can't hear them, but dogs can. Do not have dogs except for death rights, to know these spirit forces. And there okay. You can hear them. I mean, you cannot hear them, but dogs can. Now, do not have dogs except for death rights, to know these spirit forces are there to try and take your dead's soul. All right. So for us, if we're living the culture, all right, we don't have dogs in the home. All right. We don't live with dogs. Now, everybody seems like they have dogs lately. Companion for your friend, but the reality is that you don't, that's not our culture. All right. And back in the day, I remember as a child, for the black people that I knew that did have dogs, they were always in the yard. Now suddenly they're in the couch, in the bed, in the living room, in the bedroom. All right. First off, that's not sanitary. But secondly, it's a conflict of vibration as well. All right, as Bob is explaining. 17. Many people also live under tones, names, religions that link them to the dead and can be passed by gene from marriage, blood transfusions, things like drinking too much ether, which is alcohol, drugs, and even music can open you up. All right. So there's many ways to get walk-ins. All right. Through a genetic exchange. That could be through sex. All right. Intakes, someone else's genetics, blood transfusion. All right. Drinking too much. All right. Because why is that? Because the drinking, it opens up different parts of the blood, thins the blood out, and it does things to the blood, puts it on a different vibration. All right. Drugs. All right. Drugs, again, puts you on a different vibration. Then you have even the music. All right. 18. So the very stones have tones such as lime, granite, and of course, jewels. Each has a magnetic vibration, as does the neb ankh or the kafir, in the chamber of Khufu's mirror. The whole chamber itself is attuned to the frequency of the whole mirror, and its vibration is below those of human ear, 19 hertz or less. All right. So notice that Baabaa says it's below those of human ear. All right. But it doesn't mean that other beings can't hear it. All right. Another animal can hear it. For example, I have right now a good example. I have plugged into my wall this vibrational thing that keeps critters from coming in my house, and it works. I can't hear it. It's on right now. All right. And it has different frequencies. So it has, like on the higher frequencies, I can hear, but I put it on the lower frequencies so that, because what happens is that these critters, it makes them sick. But for me, I feel like I'm fine and I can't hear it. All right. So it's a repellent. It's a natural repellent. So I use sound as a repellent. So I don't have to breathe in those chemicals. All right. So the whole chamber itself, so these critters can hear the sound I can't. All right. Or maybe an extraterrestrial, or whoever, another type of being. All right. They might be able to hear. But the vibration is just those of the humanu ear, 19 hertz or less. All right. So every stone, lime has its own vibration. All right. This is a quartz crystal. All right. And I like looking at it sometimes. And then I like to hold it because it has a nice weight. Then when I hold it, sometimes I can feel like if there's tension in my hand, it starts to relax me. And then also I chant by it too. And it has its own vibration. All right. Its own shapes when you look inside of it. All right. So that's true for everything. All right. Whether it's a quartz crystal, I like to just hold lime, granite, all right, jewelry. So now you know the importance of wearing like real jewelry versus artificial jewelry, because now you're in a man-made artificial. So now if you tune into real things, all right, you can tap into wherever quartz is because they're taking these frequencies or they're taking these jewels from different parts of the earth, planet, or even beyond the earth. All right, because it was like this other meteor, all right, as we learn in Paa Taraq scroll, that meteor was carrying information, minerals that they don't find on planet Earth. All right, so that's a new vibration as well. That's being introduced. And what do you call that? You would call that panspermia. That's what you would call that. Because now that's considered a genetic kiss. Because now that's going to have an effect on the planet, for example. So planets are exchanging genetics all the time. All right, through stardust, through meteors, through vibrations. All right, so now you see why it's called Plan ET or planets. All right. So 19, and these vibrational frequencies are 4-base DNA molecules. The most frequent to appear as a tonic is F sharp. F sharp. So the frequency in base DNA and harmonically ordered are harmonically ordered, and perfectly in line with the frequency of Tanun of planet Earth. All right, so think about how powerful that is. If you ever look at a musical skill, I had drawn something before, but you can see this. Looks like a ladder that I drew. But sometimes my imagination, as I'm here and I start seeing visuals, then you start twisting it. That would be automatically that would turn into a DNA. And then you're going to also have a musical skill. So now that order, because as it's spinning, if anybody ever had those little toys where you turn that little, what do you call that? That knob, you turn that knob, and then as it's spinning, it's playing a melody. All right, and then you know that your DNA is constantly spinning and it's hitting different notes and it gives off a song. Now you know that your DNA also gives off music. All right, just because you can't physically hear the music with your humanoid ears, another being might be able to hear that. All right, and that's why we are starting to develop the higher senses, because we have the 5 senses, which is really one sense, which is touch. All right, because the vibration touches the eardrum and then you react to that touch. The vibration touches the eye, or the particles touches the eye, and then you perceive it as an image. All right, you have something that touches you physically, and then you send that signal, and then you put out a shape or whatever, the texture, heat. All right, that's all touch. Hearing, sound, smelling, it's touching your those particles touch your nose, and of course tasting touches your taste bud, and then you interpret it as a sensation. All right. So that's your reaction. So you pick up something and then you have a reaction to it and you call it a sensation. All right. And that's why you call it a senses. But now you have people who are a little bit more sensitive with the 4 higher senses, which is your intuition, your psychometry, all right, your telepathy, all right, your clairvoyance, all right, which is really just one sense again, because your intuition, sometimes you don't know how you know something, you just know. That's what you call intuition. So, for example, what those guys were feeling, they were reacting to something. I can't see it, I can't taste it, I can't hear it, but I can't smell it, but I'm throwing up. So they're sensing, so they know something is wrong, they're responding to it, and they just don't know what it is. All right. But an intuitive person, they start getting a lot of details. All right. You get that gut feeling, that's intuition. The reality is you are sensing something just on another dimension. All right. Psychometry. All right. So it's like I picked this up. And whoever drank from this, I could feel all the energy in this water bottle. I mean, I drank from it, but I'm using me as an example. So it's like, okay, you can tell a lot about a person, all right, by the energy they emit, because when you leave a little bit of your energy, your vibrations is still permeating. All right. You might not, like, for example, I'm giving off a vibration, and by the law of displacement, that means I'm affecting that which is around me. So there's no way that I can touch this and not affect it. So now the other person, if they're in touch with psychometry, they're going to pick this up and they'll be like, Noon was here. I could just tell. I could just tell she was here. How do you know? You can't sense her, she was here. There's some people that they're like that. Like, was such and such just here? Like, how do you know? And they might be like, well, there's a certain frequency. I could just tell. So that's called psychometry. All right. And then you have all the ways. So now you realize that it's not some spooky, mysterious thing. It's just getting in touch with your senses. And that's the thing of being honest with yourself. Because I remember I saw it was a telepathy. It was like these extraterrestrials. It was a meme. And they had these different extraterrestrials. And they were saying, well, how come human beings don't use telepathy? And they said, and then the other alien said, because they have a lot of secrets. They try to hide. So a lot of us lie to ourselves. So if you're already starting off lying to yourself because the first confirmation is you, how are you going to perceive the world around you when you're already starting off out of touch with yourself? Because that intuition goes back to you. That psychometry goes back to you. Your telepathy goes back to you. All right. So somebody sends a signal and it's like, you know what? I'm thinking about you. And then you say, I'm thinking about this person. And then you call them and I was just thinking about you too. You guys had telepathy. All right. But there's a lot of people, they're not even comfortable with their own feelings. So now when they're picking up someone else's feelings, they're in denial of themselves. They'll probably be cut off from feeling the world around them as well. That's an example. All right. So let's get back to the scroll. So the frequencies in base DNA are harmonically ordered. All right. Harmonically ordered. All right. Because you have so many components to put you together. All right. When you look at your whole genetic structure, like, why does your eye go like that? Why does your hair fold this way and not fold that way? Why is your skin exactly that frequency? How come you're that height? How come you're a man and how come you're a woman? All right. All that's going to be encoded in the song in your genetics. And somebody can actually play your song. I had saw that they was, if they start to attribute different tones to the DNA, they can actually put a song together, and everybody will have their unique song, which is interesting. And then you'll have groups of a race. Of course, that song will be more similar to your grouping. All right, so you're actually giving off a different song. All right. And not just that, the song isn't just a random song. It's perfectly in line with the frequency of Tanun. All right. if you're an earthling, all right, so your body should be in line because your body is going to be a response to your environment. So it should be in harmony with the song of earth. So now you have gas, liquid, and solid. Or you have your mother, your father, and the child. 33 and a third, 33 and a third, 33 and a third. And then you also have the three, which is FAC. FAC creates the harmonics. The specific harmonics talking about the harmonics of earth. All right. Because this scroll is one of the earlier scrolls. Baabaa gave us more details in later scrolls so we could fill in. We can go back to this old scroll and we can start filling in new information, and it's going to give us so much more depth. So why FAC? F for earth, A for the human, all right, for humanity, and then C for the cosmos, all right, because space itself, because you have the different components. So like, for example, you have the different components on earth. You have humanity. Humanity is humans aren't the only beings that live on earth. You can have insects, like mosquitoes. They don't vibrate on they vibrate. Birds, they have their vibration. Each species has their vibration, right? When they're healthy. Then earth itself has its vibration. It doesn't mean that all planets have that vibration. I don't know what Mars has, for example, all right? Because Mars is a little bit further away from the sun, and it gives off a different color itself, you know, it has different properties. So most likely it has a different musical note that overall that it vibrates on. All right. So we're harmonizing with ourselves, place, and time. All right. That creates humanics. All right. FAC. All right. Then you have elements, atoms, and chemicals. You have genes, cells, chromosomes of a person. All right. So now you see the different dimensions: elements, atoms, chemicals, or genes, cells, chromosomes. All right. The mother or the female's tones are higher pitched, and the father's or the male tones are lower pitched. All right. So they'll call a higher pitch as a sharp and a lower pitch as a flat. All right. So on each note itself, because each note you have like A, you have the higher pitch where it goes slightly higher. That would be a sharp before you get into B. Before you get into B, you go higher, right? And then, or you can go a little bit lower, and then you'll be flat. And then you'll be right in the middle. Not too flat, not too sharp. All right, then that would be a major. All right. So the child, it could be a daughter or son, would be the in between or the major tone. Because like, for example, like even in the womb, you know that children, they all look the same. Like the male's testicles, for example, it's up where the woman's ovaries are. All right. So everybody starts off the same inside the womb. All right. And then the testicles start dropping if it's a boy. If it's a girl, the ovaries just stay put. But every boy, where the female ovaries are today, that's where every fetus, male fetus, their testicles was exactly where her ovaries were to start. All right. So before we start getting differentiated, all right, we start off on the major. So think of yourself like a stem cell. You're a stem, which is that's a term that some people like to use when they call themselves androgynous. They'll say, I'm a stem. I'm not masculine. I'm not feminine. I'm a stem. All right. Now you see, well, you have a stem cell. I'm not specialized yet. All right. So before you get specialized, you start off in your stem. All right. So that'll be males and female children. All right. Like a baby, a male baby and a female baby. What are the differences? What they need? They both are gonna cry. You can't tell the baby's 3 days old and you say, stop crying, be a man. It's like the baby does know nothing about being a man or a girl or a female or a male. The baby just knows it's hungry. Feed me. All right. Or I'm cold, pick me up or something like that. All right. Then you start to see the specialization start to mature because that song is starting, the DNA starts to take hold. All right. So you have mother, father, and child. That is a harmony. All right. So you have many different harmonies. All right. What's another harmony we could think of already? Let's start with this first one on the cover. Husia and Hika. That's another harmony for manifestation. All right. So, in fact, all frequencies turn out to be particularly related and can be pleasing or painful, can make you sick or heal you, can give life or cause death, build or destroy. Number 8 as in octaves. All right. So now you know you have 8 notes as you go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yeah, A, B, C, D, F, G. All right. But the scale starts on C. So there's a song that whenever I talk about this, I always hear the song and I think I want to sing it. All right. But it's lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the, I forgot the words. But yeah. Okay, so you hear the harmonies, you hear it's all about liberty, the freedom song, all right? And then when you really listen to the lyrics and the importance of getting back to the music again, all right, that you actually have songs that can free the genetics, and you can have songs that also can entrap the genetics or confine them, all right? And then there's another song that was talking about from sea to shining sea. Sea to shining sea, right? So now you know that they're talking about a whole octave because they were talking about, I forgot what that song is. I just hear that one line in the song. If anybody knows what song I'm talking about, feel free to unmute. And in that song, all right, they're talking about, I guess, the connectedness from whatever, the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, all the oceans, everybody's all together. All right. But now if you're more musically inclined, you also hear, wow, you're talking about the C octave. Because whenever you want to go into another octave, you start all over again. So it's really 7 notes. And then when you go into infinity to do it again and again, you end up in new octaves. So you go from C to C to do that. All right. And Baabaa breaks that down in more scrolls. All right. So I'm just plugging it in now. So number 8 as in octaves. All right. As in ogdods. All right. So now we know that certain frequencies, certain songs can make you sick, can inspire you, can heal you, can give you life, can shorten your life. All right. There's certain frequencies that can, if you keep playing it, it can cause damage to buildings. All right. So I don't know. Like I have these frequency things that I use as a like pest control, and I keep them plugged in, and then they make a vibration, but I can't hear it. But I feel like they're working. And But who knows what it's doing to the integrity of the building? And who really knows what it's doing to my cells? Because just because I can't hear it, is it really safe for me? I don't know. All right. But that's something to consider. All right. So I would probably need to do more research on vibrations. All right. So we ancient ones know the correlation between harmonics, stones, the planet Earth, and electromagnetism. Unison or agreeing tones on the same pitch become one. All right. So unison, once you're on unison, all right. So you have FAC, that's harmony. But everything that's on A is going to vibrate the same. So they become one. They become one body. All right. So the mathematics of frequency occurring in the planets, Earth, and other cycles are in tune. All right. So it's not just about random sounds or random frequencies, because the reality is that sound, it fits perfectly into the cycles of not just this planet, but others as well. All right. And it's going to create cycles, because it's not like this scale stays still. This scale does not stay still. The scale wraps on itself. All right. And it's creating movements. And like a clock, when this starts spinning, then this one over here is going to spin. All right. And then when these are spinning and everything, and it's all movements and sounds. And then you have, and for that to work, for that to even work, then you have to be mathematically tuned, because if something is out, if something is off, it would just cause, it wouldn't work. All right. There would be it would be like a glitch in the system. It wouldn't work. So the mathematics of frequency occurring in planets, Earths, and others cycles are in tune. And also at the basic level, 24, verse 24. And also at the basic level, your physical body overstands this. And in the right state of mind or trance state, opens up the mental abode. Paa Taraq Kai, or the Caucasoid, want you to speak on their tone. Listen to how they speak, and it's not from their solar plexus, yet from the nose to affect your nose gay. That's the bunch of sweet smelling flowers, a symbol of what you breathe in and how to smell, and how smell affects your whole being. So they wish all to talk as they do, as in nosology. Nosology is the science of disease, spelled Nosolology. Nosology. All right. So we don't talk from our nose. And I could tell you from reading the scrolls and doing the breathing exercises and chanting, I did notice that my voice did go back a little bit lower. All right. And I realized that my thoughts are more rooted. It processes different than if you kind of talk in your nose, it makes your head vibrate differently. Like I'm trying to talk right now. It makes your head vibrate differently. It makes people take you different, because now you're affecting them differently. It's annoying. All right. And it puts everybody on a certain, it shifts them out. All right. And then on top of it, it leads to anxiety and depression. And I do notice that back in the day when I was a child, I used to hear about all these white women and these white people. They always had anxiety. I didn't really hear about Black people getting anxiety like that. But now it's like every other person, every other Black friend that I have is suffering from anxiety. And they could remember that they didn't always have anxiety. But now if you listen to the kind of music that we listen to, how our singers, you can't tell who's Black or white anymore. The way that we're breathing, the way we sound. All right. It's like, first off, you're not even breathing properly. All right. So they're changing our rhythms. So now you're being opened up to that same fears and anxiety that the Caucasian exists in. All right. Because the Caucasian is just afraid of everything. all right, because they're not in tune with anything. So everything is like, oh, I better get you before you get me. I better colonize you so I can have control. Because if I have control, then I feel safe. All right, that's because you out of tune. All right, when you in tune, you can respect where everything is. You don't feel the need that I gotta go and make everything conducive for my weak disposition. All right. So they wish that all other talk as they do as a nosology, the science of disease, or he is a nosologist of nostalgia, the house of sickness by the nostril. Now stop and listen to how they speak. Listen to where the sound is vibrating from. Their noses or snout or mange. All right. So it's vibrating from somewhere in the head. And chant like that. Talk like that yourself. After a while, you won't even want to hear your own voice. All right. So you have nostalgia. I remember Baabaa talking about nostalgia. Some people, that's all they have. They want to reminisce. Oh yeah, remember back in the day when, and it's like they're never in the now. All right. Takes you out of the now too. That's what nostalgic is about. Not to say you can't have sentiments, but for some people, they're never in the now. They can't appreciate. All right. Life as it's happening. They can only appreciate life after it happened. Some people can't appreciate what they have before them. It's always how good things used to be. And then another moment passes, and then how good that used to be. Learn to appreciate as it's happening. Now you're existing now in the moment, in the first. All right. Then you can have those beings who exist in a second. They come second. So they can only appreciate things after it already happened. All right. So he is a nosologist of nostalgia, house of sickness by the nostril. Now stop and listen how they speak. Listen to where the sound is vibrating from. Their nose or snouts or mange. All right. Some of us, that's how let's be honest with ourselves. You know, where did we get it from? From them Adamite contacts and Adamite genes. Now we know what we have to heal from. Because, including myself, sometimes I feel like, okay, I could sound a little bit nasally at times. I could sound a little European at times. And, you know, the men don't sound masculine to me. The women, they sound, you know, same thing. All right. And then you start traveling. When you start traveling to other parts of the world, specifically go to Africa and places like that, you notice how much how much improvement you can make. All right. So if you look up leprosy or Hansen's disease of lepers and how it affects the nose and breathing. All right. So look it up when you get your chance. Hansen disease. All right. Talks about how it affects the joints. You already know it affects the skin, but did you know it also affects the ability to breathe properly? Leviticus chapter 13 in their Bible, how leprosy affects the skin tone, the hair texture. Leviticus chapter 13 verses 30. Or transforms. Hasmuri. One moment. Okay. Talahad. Sorry about that. All right. So you notice that it affects the ability to breathe properly. There's many diseases that can affect the ability to breathe properly. And then also, when I was learning about melanin itself, it's not just one genetic that makes you have melanin. It's many parts of your genetics that's working in harmony with each other, because melanin is a very complex thing. All right. So you need at least four aspects of your genetics to be working in harmony Because if anything is wrong with any of those four parts, all right, then you might end up coming out with lack of skin color. All right. So you need many things aligning for one feature sometime to work properly. All right. So if you look up leprosy or Hansen disease of lepers, it affects how the breathing. In Leviticus chapter 13, in their Bible, how leprosy affects the skin tone and hair color. Leviticus chapter 13, verses 30, or transforms one from Negroid to Caucasoid. So leprosy affects the nervous system and the nerves, which affects the skin, rashes, impulse to motion. All right. An impulse is where one is like you have a synapse, which jumps from one message, it sparks to go to the next cell. They call it a synapse. But the message itself is called the impulse. All right. And for some reason, you don't get that impulse. You don't get that response. So the impulse to motion between the brain and other parts of the body. All right. So leprosy affects all that. It affects your nervous system. It affects this, which in a turn will affect all the other systems, because in reality, you need your nervous system for your heart to beat properly. You need your nervous system to process thoughts. You need your nervous system, and your nervous system has to be coated in melanin, which is why you see albinos that their eyes, it depends. There's different kind of albinoism. So now you know. There's some people who might have one part of their body working okay, and the other part of their body there's many different types of a certain disease. But for depending on that, if you have ocular albinoism, and you're going to have albinoism inside the nervous system, your eyes will start to shake like this, and you won't be able to center them. All right, and then you'll have vision problems. All right, so your melanin, you need it to balance out. All right. So you might have somebody with a very little bit of melanin on their skin, that they might have enough neuromelanin. All right. So now look at the word nerve. All right. Look at that word nervos. All right. Nervos takes you back to birthmark, pigmentation on the skin, which is why they drink so much, smoke so much, and take all kinds of drugs to calm their nerves. All right. Because what ends up happening when you see the movements of the eyes, you see it wants to be calm, and your melanin, it helps to stabilize things, because you'll notice that melanin, it imposes a resistance. So like even when you look out in space, you know that the dark matter itself that you're looking out into is a form of melanin, because what it does is it puts a certain resistance on the planets. All right. So now it helps to stabilize everything, because because you know that it's moving through something. All right. Even though they don't necessarily measure it, they know that darkness itself, it imposes a certain amount of resistance on matter. So now it helps to stabilize. All right. And that's the thing. Think of matter as grounding. All right. It's grounding, and then it's also uplifting at the same time, because matter, the melanin helps you get to other dimensions. All right. 25. So what we did, Hasmuni, was build structures that utilize the electromagnetic and harmonic effect, which work in unison with each other and you. All right. So we didn't just randomly like, oh, I'm going to build this pyramid just because it looks like, I don't know why I'm going to build this pyramid. I just want to put this pyramid there. I don't know why. No, that's not why we did things. All right. We built them. This is the reason why we did it. We did it to utilize the electromagnetic and harmonic effect, which work in unison with each one, and also with you. All right. So they will work. So like this structure, I'm going to use this as an example. All right. So this structure and this structure will work together. All right. And then it's also going to work with me. So it's tuned into each other perfectly, and it's tuned into me perfectly, and it's tuned into the proper placement. So I'm going to place it here. And why not here? Why here and why not there? All right. It's not a random thing. All right. It was being done by fate, not faith, because faith is just being random. Like, oh, I'm just going to do and see what happens. That's faith. When you deal with fate, you know the outcome that you want, and you know how to get there, and you create the environment to create the outcome. All right. So we built symbolism. We built in symbolism. We built in symbolism, power and grandeur, yet also universal harmonic and paramagnetic power. All right. So yeah, symbolism there. And that symbolism is standing for a bigger, is standing for a bigger purpose. All right. So when you see like, wow, this symbol plugs perfectly into what the genetics are doing. But also this symbol, okay, let's just use a symbol of ray. This is before telescopes and all that, all right, or modern telescopes. All right, that's a symbol of ray. But also, if you understand the way cells are, you realize that that's also the symbol of a cell, and that's going on in your body. And then that's also a symbol of the solar system. It's a symbol of so much. All right. So now when you personify a personality, let's say a personality, the personality is not a random event. All right. So you'll notice that there's nothing that unique about you. It's only unique because, you know, the way you're put together. But in actuality, the fact that how you came, the patterns of life, there's patterns, there's consistent patterns that keep repeating from a micro level to a cosmic level. All right. And then you could see it in everything in between. All right. So you'll notice that yourself, if somebody, when people are vulnerable and they speak their true story, you realize that that story is not that unique and it's so relatable in your own way. You'll relate to it, you know, because we all know, we all go back to the standard of betrayal. That's a universal thing. We all will feel that. Love. All right. Or attraction. All right. Even if it's not to a person, I'm attracted to this. I really needed this cup. I need to get this cup. I want this cup. All right. That's attraction. All right. Now, the way you feel about that cup, somebody else could feel the way that you feel about this cup, the way you feel about that person. All right. Or losing a dog to somebody might be just as devastating as losing, you know, their wallet or losing a friend. All right. Those universal things, embarrassment. All right. The funny thing is people are embarrassed about things everybody do. I mean, I think about embarrassment. Like if you're doing something very private in the bathroom and in the washroom, and somebody walks in on you and you're sitting on the toilet. All right. That's not something that you want to happen. All right. And for some reason, everybody gets embarrassed. When in actuality, everybody does it, but it's private, it's personal. So you realize that the most personal things about you is really the most universal. And that's why you can plug yourself into the universal principles. All right. And that's why we say, well, our Nadaru, are they principles or are they people? And that's why you say they're actually both. All right. So 26, we built in symbolism, power and grandeur, yet also universal harmonic and paramagnetic power. All right. And that is what this whole symbol and the power. Where is it? Of Yaanun. Paut. All right. There we go. And you're going to notice that central door is inward. All right. Because the moment that you go back to your original center, if you can get to your center, which is a very difficult thing, if you can get to your own center, which most of us are not there, All right. Once you get to your center, and let's say you're on a bigger circle. So let's say you're on the side of the circle. So you're a circle within a circle. Once you found your center, you have found the tone vibration, no matter what point of the center that you're on. You got to the whole central circle. You got to the center of this circle. All right. Why? Through universal harmonic. All right. Because that same vibration that made that center made your center. All right. So now you know the vibrations of Yanun to renew your story. Why you know now that Yanun does not have a successor, and why Baabaa takes us back to Powits. All right. And in Powits, that is called cooperation. All right. And being once again in harmony. All right. But you have to first be in tune with yourself. All right. And they're doing everything to take us out of that. All right. To take us to nosology. All right. And nostalgia. All right. And you'll never be able to appreciate the moment that you're in. You're always looking outside the moment. Remember back then, man, it was great. Remember when we were kids? Remember this? Remember that? All right. So, 27. Its mortal imperfections, its mortals, Hasmuni, its mortals imperfections that block them from being open to true and full mental powers. Once they are transformed, they will once again use both sides of their brain in perfect balance. All right. So it's our own imperfections that block us from the mental powers. And where's that imperfection coming from? The imperfection is coming from that you're not here yet. So how you going to be here? If you're not here, how can you be there? All right. So that's why Bible says, I was here, which was there. When they say, how you know so much? And his response is, I was there, which is here. I was there, which is here. All right. And he gets there through resonance. All right. And patching up the holes, all right, in the story, all right, in your own story. So the mortal's imperfections that block them from being open to true and full mental powers, once they're transformed, they will once again use both sides of their brain in perfect balance and be at one with Paa Poets again and the universe. They will be with one at Paa Poets and the universe. All right. So you have Paa Poets, which we covered already, the difference between Paa Poet and Poets. Paa Poets would be the universe, and Poets would be Kale Makwan, or the omniverse. All right, Poets. So Paa Poet, why? What's the difference? Because Paa Poet, you start to say the articles, the. When you say the, you start naming things. When you're just saying Poets, you're just saying all. All right? It just is. And when you start saying Paa Poet, you start to name the very different things that's going on. So you have up, down, left, right, man, woman, all this other stuff going on. All right. So now you are at one with Paa Poet. So now you're not at odds. Like, yes, that brother or sister is different from you. They see things different. All right. But you're in harmony with them. All right. Because you're at one with them. Because you appreciate your collective body. All right. And the part that you all play. Because you say, I am part of the all expanding. And the all expanding is part of me. All right. So it's mortals' imperfections that block them. All right. And once they are transformed, they will use both sides of their brain in perfect balance and be at one with Paa Poets and the universe. And the field resonance and rhythmic frequency of the universe is F sharp. the rhythmic frequency of this universe. All right. So remember when we say this or universe, when you say unit, uni means one. All right. Omni means all. All right. So when you start naming something, so this particular universe, this one that we're talking about, that we're on, that we're dealing with as earthlings, all right, is going to be on F resonance. All right. That's the part of the scale that we are. Maybe in another universe, it might be a different resonance. All right. We're not talking about the Mukwan Kale or Kale Mukwan. We're not talking about omniverse. We're talking about universe. All right. And we're all each as well a universe unto ourselves as well. All right. So let's continue this. So we built in power. Let's see where we are. And then they will be in one with Paa Taraq again and the universe. And its field of resonance or rhythmic frequency of this universe. All right. So you want to get back in the field of resonance and rhythmic frequency of this universe. All right. How do you start with? How do you get there? By tuning yourself up first. You get to your center. All right. So stop letting people impose themselves on you. You know, people want to hold their titles and things like that. That's why I don't do that. All right. The very things that I'm sharing is the things I'm also working on as well. And we're working, but we're working beside each other. So it is in my best interest to help the best way I can, my strengths, and share them. And hopefully someone will share their strengths, because by resonance, if you're healthy, you can help me. All right. Let's see where we are. So you want to get back to your center. And so many people are trying to pull others off of their center. All right. That's why each one has to take a moment to plug in for themselves. Don't mistake for what your brother or sister knows for what you know. You take time to know for yourself as well. All right. Because if you just say, well, you know what? I'm just going to hang out with people who know and they're going to put a good word in for me, you'll be left behind. That's not how it works. All right. Because the reality is not something that you can fake, and that's something you can't lie to yourself. And at the end of the day, you'll judge yourself. All right. You're your final judge. And you can't be like, well, he or she knows that. And I hung out with them, so that made me. And it's like, no, you're mistaking what he or she knows from what you know. And you won't know until you get to your center. All right. So looking at somebody else's center is not really going to do much for you if you're not taking time to get there yourself. All right. Because now you guys will be put in touch with the same thing. He, she, and him, they're all in touch with their center, and you're in touch with your center. Now you have a resonance. All right. And you all end up in the same resonance. But if he, she, her, and then you're not in touch with your center, and you think you're just going to hang out with them, they'll all vibrate and you won't. All right. So anybody who's trying to bully somebody else or hold something over your head and things like that, don't let them do it. All right. So 27, let's continue reading that. So, and its field of resonance or rhythmic frequency of the universe is F sharp, or 1.655 times 1043 hertz, the key resonance. Once the full use of the brain and barotheric gland is restored, there will be much interaction under the influence of F sharp, actually allowing the transference of energy, sound, tones, vibration, and colors, images, and voices beyond this realm. All right. So now some people might be confused. Why are we talking about F so much? I thought that our foundation was A. Our foundation is A. That's the human body. That's why we're taking time to heal that up. But once we heal up, we know that we will be touching a lot, because Earth wants to tell her story too, right? And that's why I'm saying her, because Baba keeps talking about F sharp. And we know sharp is feminine. And we know that Earth is more feminine than masculine. So now we're going to have Mother Earth having a lot of wisdom to share amongst us. All right. But you have to first go on A. All right. Baba explains that later on. All right. So once the full use of the brain and barytheric gland is restored, there will be the interaction under the influence of F sharp, actually allowing the transference of energy, sound, tones, vibrations, and colors, images, voices beyond this realm. All right. So you even tapping into C, because C is the cosmos. But it's not like, oh, I'm just going to chant on C because I want to go into what the cosmos have to offer. You realize that no, you have to have F there too. All right. Because F is where you are. That's your coordinate. A is who you are. F is where you are. And C is what you're looking for. All right. So that's where you have the harmony. And Baba says when we actually open those gateways, we'll be chanting in harmony on F, A, and C. So F will help to be tuning us in. We'll be interacting with F. All right. It's almost like melanin. When you go in and you get in the information, you're getting radiation. All right. You don't just say, oh, I got radiation, I'm good. All right. No. So we'll use visuals. So radiation we'll call C. We'll call melanin F. And we'll call the body A. All right. So you need a transmitter, because what ends up happening in F would be an example of a transmitter. So it can put into a conversation that your body can actually absorb. Because what happens is without melanin, if you were to just get live radiation without melanin, there will be no transmission. Because the melanin takes the radiation, it reconfigures the message into a message that is more palatable for the very functions of your body. And then your body responds, and your body responds by creating its own vitamin D. It has hormonal reactions. But without the melanin, it would just scramble all the DNA. So C, as in you're in a physical body. All right. You have F, A, and C. All right. So the message is, because at the realm of your ancestors, the cosmos is in C. The realm of planet Earth is in F. The realm of the human body is A. All right. But you're respecting Mother Nature. You're respecting Mother Earth. All right. So the rhythmic frequency of this universe is F sharp. All right. So many people, yes, Zamal. I see you, Zamal. How do I say your name? Shamita. Is that it? Yishamita. Yes, Yishamita. All right. So I'm just gonna mute you just because it makes a distortion. Everybody feel free to participate. Just make sure you have something to say. All right. And I'm just making sure, can I be heard still? Okay. All right. Oh yeah, Rahubat. I heard you. I just hear that you had a lot in your background, but you said I could be heard. All right, Tower. Okay. So let's get back onto this. So many of us have this. Another thing we're gonna have to get over. All right. this whole spooky attitude that we have, and I call it disrespect. We don't even realize it's disrespectful because we have this complexes that we have to heal past. And so many people have this complex that I'm superior because I'm not from this planet. I'm from somewhere else. I'm an alien, right? And they don't take the time to respect the place and time that they're in, because the reality is planet Earth itself is also extraterrestrial. And when you think about how life grows, it's all extraterrestrial. All right, because there's so much that Earth is sitting in space first and foremost. All right. So it's all interconnected. All right. And space is always constantly affecting Earth. All right. And upgrading the genetics of Earth, so to speak. So it's always interacting, because it's not like it's in some bubble away from everything. It's a part of all. All right. So if you disrespect Earth, you're disrespecting all. All right. So you have to respect your place and time. Respect your family. Respect. That's why it's like, before you go to the Nadaru, you acknowledge your own ancestors. You respect your own mother and father. You make peace with your own story. And a lot of us think that, okay, you know what? I'm more superior. Like, I'm the chosen one in my family. I'm superior than my own mother and father. All right. And I don't need to deal with them because I got Paa Taraq and I got the culture. In reality, you're lying to yourself. All right. Because you still have to make peace with the journey that's you. All that's part of you. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, maybe your mom and dad, they might not accept this doctrine, but you accept them as part of you. And that's all. So if you're not accepting the good and bad, then you realize that you're still under the spell, because all that is part of the story. And how are you going to leave out a part of the story? You're going to have an incomplete story. All right, so it all mathematically makes sense. So now you're tuned up, all right? And now you feel less impulsive to try to control somebody, to see things your way, all right? You went through a certain school, your genetics went through a certain school, it's time for the next school, all right? And now you're in the here and now. You're not in nosology where you're bitter about what you didn't get and all that other stuff. And because that's a theme that I see. Sometimes people think that they spiritual and then they got a complex, or like, I'm not from Earth, so I'm better than people that's from Earth. And reality is that you have to still get in tune with this universe, because if you can't get in tune with this universe, you ain't getting onto any other universe. All right, you start on FAC. All right, so we not going to disrespect Earth and think we're going to risk. Not going to happen. All right. So the rhythmic frequency of this universe is F sharp, or 1.655 times 1043 hertz. That's the resonant key, or the key resonance. Once the full use of the brain and barotheric gland is restored, there will be the interaction under the influence of F sharp, actually allowing the transference of energy, sound, tone, vibration, colors, images, voices beyond this realm. All right. So if you want to go to risk, you got to get in touch with Earth. All right. You want to speak to the beings on risk. All right. Sirius, Orion. You're going to get there through a resonance. All right. Note, in their Mosicism, Jesusism, Mohammedism, when they chant, all being called Caucasoids or subraces of them, as in Southeast Indians who influence the Muslims chanting. They even call the system guna, or chanting through the nasal passage to vibrate the nose, or nasalized sound. All the religious chanting of Jews, Christians, and Muslims are in those tones, a buzzing sound because of their noses or eyes being blocked. All right. So now, as I read this scroll many years ago, and I wasn't chanting at the time, and Baba told me to chant, but I thought that was spooky, so I didn't chant. And then when I chanted, finally, I was like, I don't like chanting because it makes my head hurt. And so it's like, okay. So I was when I was chanting, and I say, "Ya nataru muslafunun," right? That's more nasally. And if you keep doing that, it's going to become annoying because it keeps vibrating up here. And the reality is that we have the potential uh, to take the tone a lot lower. And the healing is, the reality is, yes, Zamal, I see your hand up. I'm going to call you in a minute, all right? Yashima, Yashadime. Just in one moment. All right. So the reality is that you want to open all the glands, all right? And you don't want the vibration going behind your head and all the other stuff. You want the vibration to come down here. And when you know that you're chanting properly and you're breathing properly, when you start chanting and you start breathing, you'll feel your whole body vibrate. All right. That's not going to happen if you're doing guna chanting. All right. So the reality, the reason why these beings chant like that is because Baba says that their third eye is closed. And what does he mean by that? The very structures. Because for some people, like for example, if you look at my nose is adequate. Do I have the widest nose? No, I don't. All right. But it's adequate. I breathe properly. I could take a nice deep breath. It doesn't impede. There's no deviation. My nose isn't collapsed. All right. I don't have the most open nose when I study noses, but it's not collapsed. Because if you collapse your nose and you have that pinched nose, those type of noses are actually harder to breathe in. And then you'll notice when you go to take a deep breath, if you have a pinched nose, it actually sometimes closes. All right. But if your nose has enough roundness to it, you could take a deep breath without it collapsing on itself. All right. And they actually sell on Amazon and other places. They have a nose, I forgot what they call it, breathe. I forgot what it's called, but it's an insert that I saw somebody with a pinched nose, and they put the insert in their nose, and it actually holds their nose open. So their nose goes from looking like this, and then it goes looking like that. And they was like, they just bought it. I was looking at a review, and they just bought it because they never thought, because a lot of times you don't know how sick you are until you get healthy. So they're used to breathing like that. They don't know what they're missing out on. And then they went and bought that, and they were shocked, and they said it really works. They gave it a thumbs up. So the fact that you have that naturally, all right, you can breathe properly. The difference between you and them is that you have the potential to do it. You're just misusing your vehicle. All right. For them, they might be living to their full potential, and that's just the way they can. All right. So now you have the gateway, all right, through your ether and your elements. All right. So you have the elements that start to solidifying, and then you have the etheric parts. All right. So if it's vibrating and if it's compromised on the physical level, then you know that it's compromised on an energetic level. So why would you want the compromised tone over the open tone? All right. So 28, not like wireless frequencies, but between individuals from universe to universe. All right. So once you get on your tone, not only do I have access, so it's beneficial. I get to my center. You get to your center. I'm not trying to control you. I'm not trying to make you like me. I'm not trying to say, I know Baba longer, or I'm this, or I read this scroll first. Who cares? You know, I'm reading the scroll. I read it before. Somebody else read it before me. Now we're all reading it. All right. So it doesn't matter how long you knew something. It's how effective you know something. Because you can know something a long time. Like I knew about chanting for years and I didn't know about it. And somebody, they might pick up and start chanting, and so it's how efficiently, all right? This person could be chanting for 50 years. This person just chants one time and they move matter. This person chants 50 years and don't move nothing, all right? So you want to go to your center. I hope your brothers and sisters get to their center. Why? Because once they get to their center, I get to my center. I have access to what's going on up there, and I have access to my fellow brother and sister, and they have access to me. All right. So not only not only like wireless frequency, but between individuals from universe to universe, because we know that we are each a universe. So I'm a mute the Zamal. Yes, she does. Um, but please say something if you want to say something. All right. You could speak now. I only muted you because you kept it unmuted before.
Rahubat, sister.
Rahubat Zamal.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Maybe I couldn't hear you before.
Yeah. Oh, I was wondering what book you're reading from, and if you sharing this info with us, can you also show us
the book?
Yeah.
Yes. So this book is actual fact. It's called Tone, Sound, DNA, Molecules, Vibrational Frequencies. And then also it's going to be recorded, and I'm going to share it as well in this group. So you could review if you missed anything. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right, Zama, anything else?
No.
All right. So you can unmute anytime, just mute until you have something to say again. All right, Tara. So now it's a wireless frequency between each individual. All right. So it's not in my best interest to have a superiority over you. I want to activate you. I want to be activated. All right. So sometimes we play gatekeeper with information. We're supposed to share it. All right. Share it. All right. You don't need a superiority complex. And don't feel what is that word called? Intimidated that somebody's going to take your spot. All right. The reality is we all could vibrate and we play our parts, because there's a lot of things that I'm not good at or I just don't want to do. All right. And that might be where you come in, and we all step up, and now we all activated. And now we can have, first we start unity, where we start to see the similarities in each other, the humanity of each other. That's in unity. You could see yourself in your fellow brother and sister. And then that opens the door for harmony later, because now you start to appreciate the differences, because sometimes you didn't understand, why is that person that way? I'm not like that, until you needed that very personality that they had. And then you start to say, where's that brother or sister? I wish they were here, you know? So you start to say, wow, like you start to pull on that, because there's somebody, like I knew somebody who liked physically fighting. They really enjoyed it. It was like, I don't know, meditative to them. You know, for me, I prefer not to. I mean, if I have to, I guess I would, but I rather, or some people talk too loud, I think, or some people talk too low. But you start to appreciate things that you might have not appreciated before, and that's called harmony. So now everybody could play their differences, and it's all aligned because it's different, but it all fits. All right. So FAC, that's a different. They're all different notes, but they sound great together. All right. But you start off in unity, where you see the humanity. All right. So you don't start off like, oh, the brother's different, the sister's different, because you start on your opposites. And opposite means opposition. So your natural enemy as a male is a female, naturally, because when you say enemy or you say opposition, all right, I'm just talking about the law of push and pull. All right. Why? Because she experiences things different. There's going to be a contention, because how she experiences it is different than how he experiences it. And if you don't see your common humanity, you're not going to appreciate that he sees it different and she sees it different. And you could appreciate that you'll like that he sees it different. You'll like that she sees it different. But you have to first start in your humanity, because there's a lot of things you also do the same. All right. So you start off in the same. All right. Your basic needs. All right. We all need to eat. We all need to sleep, to be a healthy being. Then you start specializing. I want to be more masculine. I want to be feminine. I want to be a man. I want to be a woman. But at the inside, are you just a healthy being? All right. I saw somebody else on mute.
Yes,
Okay.
that's me, Samantha.
Yes, Amal.
I've got a question. The previous page,
Mm-hmm.
point 27, when we read about the universe, it's F sharp, but maybe it's my English is not so very good, but I lost you over there. There was said the F tone is the planet, A
Yes.
tone is the body, the C tone is the cosmos or nature. But I read in the book at point 27, this universe is F sharp. So I thought that the universe was C, and then he's talking about F sharp is Mother Earth.
Right.
So I'm a little bit confused.
Okay.
C is the universe, F is the planet Earth, but now it's written like this universe is F sharp.
Right. Right. So when we say in this universe, so we have to first define what is a universe. So we have something called universe, and we have something called omniverse, and they're different. All right. So when you say universe, you're saying one verse. When you're saying Kali verse or Kali Mukwan, all right, you're saying omni. So when you're talking about going into the cosmos, you're talking about the omniverse. All right. That's the C. That's all the planets, everything. Not just this universe, but all of them put together. All right. That's the whole, that's the whole picture. When you start counting, when you start saying 1, 2, 3, when you say uni, meaning one verse, or you saying units, you're saying this unit. So this unit is F sharp. That unit over there might be a different note. So you see what I'm saying?
So actually, the planet Earth is has the same frequency as universe, and the other
Right.
universe has another frequency, and the omniverse is where everything resides.
Correct.
And what can we do? No, the last question I will. The FAC tones, the A tone, is that the 432 hertz?
So now the specifics of the exact frequency of A, I'm not sure. That's just the closest one that I got to from what I know so far. That's the most healing one because for you to be in an A tone, there's a few frequencies that can be in there, and some of the frequencies are more helpful than others. So 432 hertz, from what I know so far, because I'm not the most musically inclined person, but from studying this, 432 hertz is the note of A. All right.
And yes, because I'm searching. I've got a little machine, bioresonance machine, and then you can tune uh, a lot of frequencies. And I thought that the C4 middle is 261 and a little bit, and the F sharp 1.655 versus 1043. And when you do that, you come at 1726. Is that too?
726. So let's see what that is. You know what? Let's do the math now. Because you know that once you have a multiple of something, it's the same note. So for example, 432 hertz is going to be it's going to be the same note as 216 hertz, because 216 plus 216 equals 432. And if you strike either of them, if I strike 432, 216 is also going to vibrate. All right. So let's just see. 1040, 1043 was half of that. Half of 1043 would be 521.5. 521.5. So that's still F sharp. All right. We could take it down one more octave if we want to, or we could take it up. So 2086 is the same. But we're going into a certain octave. All right. So now we jump down to different octaves, higher octaves, lower octaves. We could jump even lower. So 280. Let's see, half of that. Let's see, 250 plus. What's half of two? What's half of 521.5?
260.75.
260.75.
Yes.
Okay. So that's again, we're going down more to a lower and lower frequency. And then we may even end up outside of the realm of human hearing. All right. Because if you drop low enough to a low enough octave, our ears won't pick it up. But even if we go to that lower octave, that vibration will still make the other ones that we can hear and the ones we can't hear vibrate.
Okay.
But the exact notes, though, the exact frequencies, the exact hertz, the exact numbers, I don't know that much about it. But Baba gives us more research. So with those numbers, maybe you could, because you're so focused on the numbers, maybe you'll be able to get all the science behind the numbers.
Yeah,
And then
I'm
you'll be
working
able
on
to
that.
take us back. And
Yes,
you could share with the rest of us, and that would be good.
yeah, I do my best because I'm not so far as this also, but when I try to meditate sometimes or focus on some things, I use some special hertz for that. And sometimes it's experimenting, not too far, but a little bit where I can think I can take it, and I'm experimenting on it. But I think the numbers are critical. I think that the numbers are critical in how your body receives the information and how your cells will react on it. That's why.
Right.
Thank you. I'll be
Yeah, I
quiet. I'll be back.
appreciate that. And thanks for bringing your attention to those details. That's why I like this picture about it. Let me see. Somebody else drew this picture. That's why I like this picture. You know, the skull of eyes. And there's so many ways to look at this, and it's many of us eyes coming together at the same time to read the scroll together. All right. And that's why we don't have any room for inferiority or superiority complexes, because all the details, we're all picking it up and we share. And it's like, for me, I'm not paying attention to those numbers, but you are. And those numbers are important because they're not just appearing for no reason. But I'm appearing to this. And now we just gotten all these different dimensions at the same time, because you're looking into another dimension at the same time I'm looking into another dimension. And we're putting it together. And that's the beautiful thing when we go back to that essential circle. So that example of that brother, that's the brother, right? And that's me. And then we communicate. And now I have access to what he's saying. He has access to what I'm saying. Because we're taking time and we're not faking it. Because a lot of times people, because of peer pressure, they really don't understand something and they don't want to hold everybody back. So they just say, okay, I got it. And they really don't. So, or they just want to fit in. And it's like, don't mistake what he or she knows from what you know. You all take time to know it. All right. So we can all vibrate. All right. So let's go forward. So not like wireless frequency, but between individuals from universe to universe. All right. So this universe, we're starting on the F because we're acknowledging Earth. And now if we acknowledge Earth, it's going to vibrate this whole units over here. Now we can get into that unit over there. All right. So from universe to universe. So now we're star traveling. All right. 29. And this universe is really here, coming as electromagnetic waves and particles, radio waves, and or energy coming from every angle of the universe, from Pare, the sun, Pa Mujamat, the stars, and Pa'ah, that's the moon. All right. So you're getting radio waves, you're getting particles, electromagnetic waves from every single angle. All right. From up there, down there, over here, over here. And it's all a conversation all over. From the sun relationship, all the various stars, your moon. All right. So you can't tell the story of Earth without telling the extraterrestrial story. Because that story itself is an extraterrestrial story. All right. So if you're going to stand there and talk about how everything is affecting you all around you, that's an extraterrestrial story just by starting in your own. And everybody's looking out there for something. They're not seeing what's right there. So this energy is really here and coming as electromagnetic waves and particles, radio waves, and or energy coming from every angle of the universe, from Pa Re, the sun, Pa Najamat, the stars, and Pa'ah, the moon. 30. Much of the energy is millions, if not billions, of years old. All right. So you could be 3 years old. I like to say 3 years old because there's this little boy. He has so much character. He's 3 years old, and he acts like an old man. And he did something as well, and his reaction was like an old man. It was so funny because he did something. And then I was like, I woke up, I was watching him, but I fell asleep. And I woke up and he just made a mess. And I got so annoyed. I was like, pick that up, get that over there. You missed that, get that. And then he just stopped. He said, all right, all right, all right. I was like, wait, how old are you? 3? He said, all right, all right, all right, all right. And then he went back to cleaning up. So yeah, that 3-year-old, you're still picking up on millions and billions of energy. So much of the energy is millions, if not billions of years old. They act in ways that are, they act in ways that you are only now beginning to learn in Wu Nuwapu, such as what is dark matter and neutrino and ethers. All right. So you're going into metaphysics. All right. When you start talking about dark matter, talking about neutrinos, you start breaking cells apart. You're going beneath the hydrogen molecule. All right. Now you're in ethers. All right. So it doesn't matter that this particle just came together. All right. 9 months ago. It's being put together from the very particles that are millions and billions of years old. All right. So in actuality, it can pull on the wisdom of millions and billions of years old. All right. So it doesn't matter that that child is 3 years old. All right. Or it doesn't matter that however old you are. All right. Or you're on planet Earth. All right. And you want to talk about the stories of Sirius and of Orion and in Risk. All right. If you're going to tell the planet, if you're going to tell the story about Earth, you're going to tell that story anyway. Because you can't talk about Earth or any story for that matter. You can't talk about that 3-year-old without acknowledging all the components that put it together. That's when you start saying one. When you start saying one, you know you can start dividing it up. All right. So you start counting. And that's why you say universe, meaning one verse. So this universe. All right. But you're not going to skip and say it doesn't matter. I'm going to disrespect my place in time because it doesn't matter. I'm trying to get over there. And it's like you missed that was your way to get there. All right. You what is it called? Disposed it. All right. So 31, from time and past, these constant interactions of energy particles or waves has plotted a course of existence and physical evolution. All right. So hear that. Hear the word course, a course. So when you say a course, you're saying process. All right. Because you know that everything that exists, there's a process to everything. It's not just be and it is poof. No, there's a whole production. All right. So by acknowledging yourself, that's the beauty. You just acknowledge the whole production. All right. And now you're not limited to this one universe, because this one universe is part of a bigger omniverse. This 3-year-old is part of whatever's in the genetics. All right. Whatever, what do you call that? It's in the genetics. Also, what's in the environment, the particles are pulled in, because you're not just made up of how a baby's put together. You're not just made up of 23 chromosomes from your mother, 23 chromosomes. That's not the end of the story. When a woman's breathing and she's pregnant, she's also breathing in particles. And then she's configuring the child continually, configuring. She takes a little bit of that 23 chromosomes. She takes from herself, and she's also still pulling from the stimuli around her. So what waves was she exposed to? All right. What particles? There's stardust that you're breathing in right now. All right. So that child is also being put together with those very ethers. All right. That you're taking in. And we know that it's not just some spooky thing. All right. It's a spiritual thing. And a spiritual thing is not just a spooky thing. A spiritual thing is just a less dense version of a physical thing. All right. It's just not, now you can't measure it anymore because you're outside of the realm of physical perception. All right. So now when you go below, for example, if you go below 20 hertz, that's where your physical experience ends for your hearing, because you won't physically hear anything. But now you're going to be in the realm of spiritual. All right. But you're still experiencing, because now it's not a physical experience anymore, but you're still experiencing it. So you're in 19 hertz and below. All right. Or above 20,000 hertz. Something like that. Let me see. I wrote it down. No, 20 kilohertz. So 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, you're outside of the realm of being able to physically hear. All right. But you'll still hear it with a part of your body. All right. And that's how becoming spiritual. So neutrino ethers. 31. From time and past, these constant interactions of energy particles or waves has plotted a course of existence and physical evolution. So it is said, man's fate is controlled by the stars. All right. So it's not just like, oh, I'm just going to look at the stars like, oh, I see from this planet, yeah, I shouldn't make a phone call today. Mercury is in retrograde. It's not about that. All right. Now, yes, these movements constantly, like they continue to have effects on us, but also how we're put together. All right. Because stars are being born all the time. Stars are dying all the time. All right. And the very particles that you're being put together. The planet Earth is a collection of stardust that in time solidified. All right. And then you still have remnants of it. All right. New births, new deaths all the time. All right. And it's constantly plotting for your specific place and time. All right. And if you're in tune with you and you respect your place and time, it puts you in place with everything else. And you'll just know. All right. So Negroids receive tones and vibrations from Pare, the sun, and of course Pad Najumats, the stars, which are suns, while the Caucasoids and other non-Negroids only receive reflection from Pa'a, the moon, no direct light or vibration, only reflections of sounds or tones. All right. So that's the benefit. For you, you get to exist as, because life is continually happening. So that's why you get the benefit to happen as it's happening. You're happening as it's happening, but for them, they live in the nostalgia. All right. And things are always great back then. Wasn't that nice back then? So they only get to see things after it already happened. All right. It already happened. You're living life as life is happening. They live life after life already happened. All right. So they live by moon energy. All right. So this is why they have no rhythm. They are not rhythmic. And again, need to make you Africans with soul convert your dancing and singing to what they do. All right. So Baba wrote this, he wrote this Paa Taraq more than 10 years ago. I forgot exactly when he wrote it, but he wrote it more than 10 years ago. And even since now, like he was warning to stop listening to certain music, and how that our rap today is really like heavy metal. And now you can see that now you have us piercing all over our bodies, uh, you know, living like rock stars. All right. And the reality is because we're converting ourselves. All right. Converting our dancing and singing to what they do. All right. I remember like having a mosh pit. That was a Caucasian thing to do. They put on the music, then they start just punching and kicking in the crowd, and that's called a mosh pit. Now I'm seeing that that's what we're doing. Travis Scott concert, people died and trampled each other. All right. How is it inspiring the people to move, dance, and relate? They put that music on in the mosh pit and they just start swinging on each other. All right. Now we start to do that too. All right. And the noise they call music, which is yelling or howling. Now look at Negroids moving and sounding as they do. All right. So back, I would say at the end of the 90s is the last bit of time. 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s. You can tell, for the most part, you could tell a Caucasian singer from a Nagaru singer. All right. They had their music that they liked. We had our music and we gravitated. No one had to tell you what to like. Typically, they liked what they liked. We liked what we liked. Then we start to go mainstream and trying to have a appeal to everybody. So we had to change the music, and we started synthesizing. All right, because there's some musicians that their music is timeless, and you may not even know what they look like. And it's like, oh, that's what that person looked like. I listen to their music every barbecue or whatever the case is. Now it's all about an image. Like that person, they can't sing or dance, but we're going to give them singing lessons. We're going to give them dancing lessons, and we're going to create a star of what we want. All right. And it's going to have a very neutrinoid look, neutrinoid sound, pretty much soulless. All right. So it's his plan to steal their souls by giving them wealth to act like them and teach them. All right. So you act like us and then also teach us. All right. So when you look at Britney Spears, for example, she just dancing 1, 2, 3, and 4 steps, right? And she had a dancing coach, all right, who was a black guy who taught her how to dance like that. And everybody just dances like that. All right. Now they want to mix their 6,000-year move cycle is ended. All right. The wise amongst them, I remember Baba saying that. The wise amongst them mixed with the foolish amongst us. All right. So just as radio waves carry information provided by the sender, also the waves transferring energy to you carry any and all kinds of information to information, which is you. All right. So we are giving off waves all the time, and we're receiving waves all the time, whether you can physically hear it or not. And we're giving off waves all the time too. All right. And that's the whole thing. Baba said by correcting our tones, we could actually start to magnetize different. Because a lot of times it seems like, why is all these bad things happening? All right. It might be that you need to take time to heal up your tones. More positive things can start happening to you. Because the reality is that your energy speaks for you before you speak. All right. And now you know why. So 33, you are receiving them at all times. It's just that you're on the wrong station or frequency and you cannot see or hear them speaking and incarnating for you. Like a radio or TV, it's off if you are not in tune with your own station, broadcast a signal that you are built to receive, born to receive from your own ancestors. So that a lot of times we feel like, no, I'm by myself, nobody cares about me, this, and that. And these are sometimes the way people feel. And the reality is that you always had a lot of support. The whole fact of the matter is that you're not seeing what's being sent to you, what's incarnating for you. All right, all the hope that has been sent your way because you're on the wrong station. All right, and all the times that your ancestors were trying to talk to you, you're busy looking over there. All right, so you're like, oh, I'm looking over there. So it's the same thing. You're busy disrespecting Earth because you say, I'm extraterrestrial. So now you're missing all the extraterrestrial frequencies in reality because your station is this is called the G station. All right, Earth, gestation. All right, this is where you incarnated. So you don't want to respect your station. You're not going to get on any call with anybody. All right, just as an example, I'm using it as an example because I do feel like there's a complex of this extraterrestrial superiority complex that I feel we need to get over. All right. So that is if you accept others' cultures, religions, way of life, if you carry their names, titles, and accept their ancestors' spirit forces called deities, gods, prophets, messiahs, mahdis, and so on. When you speak in their tones, it's like the radio is not tuned on your own station. So you only receive their spirit forces which will not help you in any way. Yet they will use you to fill. All right. So the same way that they can affect you, you can affect them. So they're not there to help you. So who you think they're there for? They're there to help themselves to your energy. So they get to feel because they don't have a physical body, but they need a vehicle to move their energy over. So they'll use you. All right. And even these scrolls, reality, we're not even supposed to be speaking English. All right. But that's the area of opportunity for myself, and I'm sure a lot of us. And it's like, how come we are not getting along? All right. The language itself, there's a lot of aspects. 34, you must be in tune with your own bloodline back to the ancient who vibrates as you on the same station, broadcasting to you for you. Why? This is why you see hands at the end of our tune ray, the sun. All right. So that's the helping hands. Notice the helping hand is you. So that's the sun. It touches you. All right. That's supposed to spark you. All right. So let's say either, and it's giving you life. All right. And then that's why you see, okay, when I see a hand, I also see hope. And then when I see each ray also reminds me of a person. So you become a hoper yourself. And you become a conduit for which positive energy or good energy or universal, let's just say universal, where universal energy can flow through to you. But for some reason it's being sent to you and you just saying that you don't got nothing. All right, because you're not tuning in to the message that's being broadcast. And then you'll realize when you look back, like, wow, I had all these gifts this whole time and I thought I didn't have anything. All right. So 35. And of course, your own energy carries your own energy waves carry out information into you as information. That is Panataru and the universe and nature. These waves impart this Wunawap information genetically and psychologically into you. All right. So it's a genetic and a mind doctrine. All right. Sound. I mean, it's a mental and physical. That's why we have our double unk. Raising the genetics and raising the mentality. And then you realize, well, it's the same thing. All right. So you carry waves, information. These waves imparts this Wunuwap information genetically. All right. So do you know every time that you learn something, you learn another language, you learn a new idea, it actually creates new connections in your brain. So if you were to take a brain, let's say if you started a project now, you say, you know what, I want to better myself. You take a brain scan. You actually take a physical brain scan. And then you go, after you consistently worked on something, you'll notice the structure of the brain will look a little different. All right. So you can actually do your own neural, what do you call that? When you do something, neural surgery. You could do your own neurosurgery just by learning something, just by working on yourself. All right. Creating a new habit. All right. You change your brain. Physically, you actually change your brain too. All right. And sometimes things might be hard. Let's say you have an addiction. The reality is that neural pathway, the more you go over something, the stronger that neural pathway gets. So you'll have to do something different to create a new neural pathway. All right. And then you can help to restructure and heal your brain. All right. Or heal that addiction. But it takes consistently, the same way you did something consistently. And maybe you didn't do that because sometimes the genetics are passed on. So your parent had that addictive connection, and now you have a tendency to that same addiction. All right. You can still heal that neural pathway. You can still, doesn't matter if you created it or it was passed on to you, that sickness. All right. And you're healing it for your entire line because you pass on that genetic memory as well as healing. All right. So you don't just pass on bad genetic memories, you pass on good genetic memories too. So it's not just about you, it's about the whole line. So 36, you must become balanced, genetically linked to your own genes, not other races, but with your own resonant frequencies of your own Egyptian African ancestors linked to the universe and beyond. And then, and only then, will you be able to overstand the information you are receiving, if not at a conscious level. All right. So subconsciously, sometimes you're still able to understand things, but not at a conscious level. All right. So sometimes you might have, like when I read this scroll, for some reason, I wasn't reading it like how I'm reading it now. But when I read it before, it was like, all right. It was almost like words on paper to a degree. I see things and I'm like, it just seemed like a lot of random information. I don't see the randomness anymore. I see how everything is put together because I've taken time to see how I'm put together. All right. So now it's not just random bits of information. You see how, oh, that plugs into that. Now that plugs in, because now you're starting to see the pattern of life because now you're becoming more linked because that's what patterns are. Genetic links are patterns. All right. And I'm not saying I'm all the way there, but I see a growth over time and space. Right. So now what you eat, wear as a color, the colors you wear, the things you alter on your body, who you exchange body fluids with, such as kissing and sweating with, singing with, or along with, all right, who you sing with, even. That might not be good for you, or it might be good for you. All right. So now you know that something is happening to your genetics by who you're harmonizing with. And that's why I stopped chanting with certain people, because I didn't feel the love. I wanted to chant. I was trying to learn to chant, and I didn't like the way they were chanting. And I could feel like a certain ego. And then I could feel my ego, like they're not inspiring any love. They're inspiring my ego. And I don't want to learn to chant with having something to prove. So I was like, I better not chant with them. Because I don't want to create those, what do you call those links with my ego. And then every time I chant, I'm making that ego stronger of 6 ether forces. So that's why I didn't chant with just, after I felt that a couple times, I was like, I don't think this is good for me, because I'm trying to help unravel the ego. I'm trying to unravel the ego, not make it bigger. And that's why Baba explained that when you chanting in the wrong frequency, you can actually open the gateways for 6 ether forces. And now I understand what that means. All right. So you want to go where you could breathe easy and open your heart seat. And if you can't do that, maybe spend more time by yourself chanting. And then when you feel that you can chant around those people, because it's almost like a genetic kiss. It's an etheric genetic kiss. All right. So let's read that again. What you eat, what you wear as a color, things you alter on your body, who you exchange bodily fluids with, such as kissing and sweating with, sing with, or along with. All these can move the dial, and like the dial on a radio or channel on TV, the slightest shift, you get white noise, and you are off your own station, so you can't hear or see the Etherians. All right? So a lot of times I remember I was hearing a message along the lines of, it's really hard to learn with a broken heart. And I remember Baba had said something later on. He said that the women, there's a little bit of delay with the women right now, because at the time he was saying the women step forward because of trauma, and trauma is causing certain blocks. So it's like you have to take time and heal past the trauma. All right. Then all that wisdom will come back to you. All right. So sometimes you're talking to somebody and they got this glossy look in their eyes, like they're not understanding anything you said. And you explain it to them over and over. All right. The reality is that, a message from the universe, that's what's happening, that they're not able to get it. All right. Because they're on the wrong station at that moment, the way they're feeling. If you ever notice that if you're upset, a lot of times you have to take a moment and then you come back and talk to the person. Now you can hear them differently. All right. That's just one example. All right. So the superconscious level is where you find Paa Taraq. That's the oversoul. The superconscious level is the oversoul. The seat of Wunuwa, out of the very universe, itself linked to nature here. And you become part of nature. All right. So for me, sometimes I'm visual. Like I read this, I'm like, how come all these messages went over all of our heads? And I just look at this book because a lot of times negative things also I'm also I respond to negative and positive things. Sometimes too positive, you don't see it. Sometimes you need that negative stimuli. And I was just looking at why people mistreating each other that way. Why are they misusing this information? And it gave me a reason to spark forth. So when I'm looking at it, I'm even looking at it through a different set of eyes now. And all these people that want to be successors and hold things over people's head, and they're abusing each other, scamming each other, they're doing all these things to themselves and each other. And what I just read in that that line right there is summarized again in this page. This page itself summarizes the whole scroll, in my opinion. All right. But a lot of times we need to take time to read the scroll because we forgot all the details. So it's a detailed version of this. And you'll realize that a lot of times one thing is a detailed version. It's like, wow, he said all that just to say this. All right. So the superconscious level is where you find Paa Taraq, the oversoul, the seat of Wunuwapu, in the very universe itself, linked to nature here, where you become part of nature. And that's why you say, Apta Paa Taraq la Yerawuk em Yaanun. Apta Pa Baabaa Yaanun. All right. Open the way to the soul of Yaanun. All right. And now you start to see, wow, I see Pa'ut. All right. That is Pa'ut. That's how you spell it. And then he just put it in a symbol. And you see that. You see the letter A. All right. And then you see that it's reaching out. It's tuned in. All right. So it's tuned up like, wow, like an antenna. And it's reaching into the oversoul. All right. Into the mental reservoir. All right. So now Baba is teaching you how to do what he does. All right, because now you see also that it's not a coincidence that it's the same image. This is exactly, these two images are exactly the same. All right, that's the same image. Because do you see Baba's craft? A craft is also called the body, the ship. That's what's carrying energy from one point to another. And Baba is tuned in. And you see Baba has his link to the oversoul. And he's showing you how to do that too. And that's why you call out to Yanun. All right. And when you break down Yanun, all right, you see the word noon and you see O. So O us, because noon means us. Noon also means the inert one. Noon means the chaotic waters. All right. So this is the chaotic waters before everything took its form. All right. And then you start putting everything. So you're pulling from the waters and you start solidifying. And I'm like, I want to make this. But all the wisdom is in that water. All right. So now you learn to tap into the oversoul. All right. So now Baba said all this in a picture. He says all that in a picture. But now he's writing it down. You can hear Baba saying himself. So now let's read that. The superconscious level is where you find Pa Ku. That's the oversoul, the seat of Wunuwa, out in the very universe itself, linked to nature here. And you become part of nature, the universal bank of Wunuwapu that is alive and growing and expanding all the time in every conceivable dimension called mental. All right. Because you know that you are always pulling from your mental reservoir. All right. So you have a mental reservoir, which is those vibrations that are already there. And where you their mind, that's why Baba says you have mind and you have sex. Mind is in that dimension. Mental. Sex just means physical. It doesn't mean, everybody thinks like sex means lustful. It just means to be physical. For some people, that's all they are. They're just very physical, very materialistic. They can't see past their own nose. All right. And then you have people who are mind. They mind link. All right. And it's more than just about what's here and now. When you mind link, you have access to all. All right. And it's not confined. All right. It's no longer confined. So noon is no longer confined to a specific dimension. All right. That's why they call it chaotic, because you didn't put order to it yet. So there's no dimension to it. All right. So that means all the dimensions, the potential for the dimensions are there. All right. So that means the answers are there too. So you become what you think you are. I think I skipped something. Called mental. All right. So the universal bank of Wunuwapu. So now you see the bridge towards salvation Baba puts is a bridge towards power all to the universal bank. All right. And that is the journey of Wunuwap. So now you know. All right. And now you become part of nature. So expanding all the time and in every conceivable dimension called mental. The whole system, 39, we're in verse 39. The whole system in earth is the whole system and let me see. The whole system, the earth. Let's read that again. The whole system, the earth, and its electromagnetic sphere, the universe and its dynamic energy, and you all interplay in a harmony of operation proportions. All right. So you have a sphere. What's our most sacred symbol is a sphere. It's not an accident that you're looking at a sphere too. You're looking at a sphere again. All right. And then you see that the movements, you have all these spheres. The sun is a sphere. The other planets are spheres. All right. So that very dimension, all right, that is a dot in itself. A sphere can also be a dot. All right. So beyond slightest. All right, and then you have the dynamic energy, and you all interplay a harmony of operation proportions. All right, so you have a harmony of operations. All right, so example, you go to the rainforest. All right, you have a whole ecosystem, the whole ecosystem. All right. And some things might seem inconvenient to you. And you say, you know, I want to delete this outside the ecosystem. Like the mosquitoes. Why we need mosquitoes? Anyway, let's just get rid of mosquitoes. And then you realize you just messed up the whole ecosystem. All right. So now it makes you appreciate that this plays its part for this, and that plays its part for that, and that plays its part for that. And it might seem like it's an obstacle for you, but the reality is that it's perfect in the bigger picture. All right. So now you keep coming across obstacles. Maybe it's time for you to find where you fit in the bigger picture. All right. And now you feel less at odds because now you have been given the wisdom of the mental. All right. And that is the wisdom of all. All right. So the more wisdom of all we have, the less conflicts that we should be coming in contact with. All right. So it could, because of why? It's an interplay. All right. So all these little dynamics, and they all interplaying in a harmony of operation proportions. All right. Proportion. All right. So how things fit together, those are the proportions. So the cyclic nature of the universe as a whole, as already has been shown on numerous occasions to affect all living species. All right. So that's circular. We were talking about that circle. The fact that you're surrounded by circles, your cells are circles, the planets are circles, the suns are circles. So now you know that once you have that shape, you can affect all the other ones that's in that shape. So it's going to affect all living species. And all are in tune with some frequency, not all the same. Pa Tanim Kai, or the Tamahu, Tanim, or Tanin. All right, that's the Hebrew Strong's number, 8568-69, and also Hebrew Strong's number 8577. Or Tanim, meaning the beast or dragon, are affected by 11 one-year cycles. You see its foot upsurge in them, and disharmony, always following closely the solar flares of Pare, the sun, which reflects sunlight to Pa'ah, the moon. Its link to the electrical part of humans of all races, to each its own. All right. So now you see the sun and the moon is linked to the electrical part of all humanity. But how it relates is going to be different, because why? We're all wired different. All right. And when you're talking about the electrical part of the human being, you're talking about the nervous system, because you know your nervous system is the electrical body. All right. So our nervous system, and so when you talk about the nerve, you're talking about how you perceive, how you feel. And we all feel and perceive differently. Now, Caucasians should have more in common with Caucasians. Africans should have more in common with Africans. And everybody else should have more in common with their own. So how they relate to nature, all right, is all unique. How they relate to music, how they relate to living, all right, until you stop giving away. You stop being in your own center. And now you lose touch of how you relate. So now how your ancestors relate and all the history that they could have given you, you don't relate the same anymore, because you relate more like the Caucasian. So you don't hear your messages, all right? Because what you would have did, all right, in that circumstance by your genetics is encoded. So now based on your genetics, this is what you should be doing. But you're in touch with your genetics. So you're going to do what somebody else's genetics should do, and it's not going to help you, because what each genetics needs from the environment is different. All right. The amount of sun that you need is not the exact same as the amount of sun that what a Caucasian would need. The type of food you should eat is not the same food that they should eat, because your bodies are different. All right. So now you've been eating and doing what they do. It's not helping your being, but now you're disconnected to what you should be doing. So now you don't even have natural impulses anymore. All right, natural impulses to how you're put together. All right. So why each has their own music and movement, a link to a network of nerves that send signals to and from the brain, and it is Hasmuni. So the network of nerves that send signals to and from the brain. And it is the brain that is cognitive, functional part of the body. It is the brain that accesses the conscious, the subconscious, and even goes to create the unconscious. All right. So when you're dreaming, for example, and you wake up and you don't remember your dream, you still see brain activity. All right. So for example, you go to sleep, it's in your unconscious, all right, or your subconscious. All right. And then they were to take a CAT scan of what's going on in your brain. Different parts of your brain gets activated. You go in different realms. All right. And you know your brain is also neural matter. You become what you think you are and what you believe you are and what you put in your body. Why they advertise drinking lots of etheric alcohol and untune you by mixing your fluids with anyone to untune you from your powers. All right. So they always talk about women. All right. Why it's important that women, we don't go around mixing our seed as much. Because, you know, we're the record keepers. But they don't tell the men as well, you know, because in reality that there's consequences that men are also living with. Because a lot of men are confused, they're going through life depressed and different things like that. And they can't, they don't feel the guidance. There's not the wisdom. All right, because they're in tune with all these genetics because it's cool, you know, to go to the club and hook up with somebody. All right. And all the things that they're normalizing is really to untune you. All right. Have a little drink. Rahubat Atum Kofi, I see you.
Some other question.
Yeah.
Point 39. Bees or dragon are affected by 11 one-year cycle. I don't have no idea what it means. Can you give an example what those 11 one-year cycles mean?
We'll see if it comes up because I'm not following that part right now. It seems like it's ringing a bell, but I'm like, what are they in tune with? Maybe it's another planet. Because I remember Baabaa saying that the Caucasian is more in tune with Mars than they're actually in tune with Earth. I've heard that before. So we'll find out what are they in tune with.
Okay, because where I live is 15 past 9 in the evening, and I worked all day. So my last question, then I will. It is record. This is recorded, so I will listen afterwards again. But my last question, the last sentence, linked to a network of nerves that send signals to and from the brain, and it is the brain that is the cognitive, functional part of the body. It is the brain that accesses the consciousness, the conscious, the subconscious, and even goes on to create. The word create in the sentence. Can you go a little bit deeper in that? The word create for the unconsciousness.
Goes on to create the unconscious. Let's continue reading. Let's see if we cover that. Because it being used in that context, how you put it, the subconscious, and even goes on to create the unconscious. All right. So what do we mean by the unconscious? Because I know what the conscious means. I know what the subconscious. And to create the unconscious. We're going to see. All right. If somebody else wants to comment on the unconscious, but we'll see. Maybe Bob will talk about it. Anybody else who wants to talk about the unconscious to create the unconscious? All right. So let's put that in our back pocket. That's a great point and a great question. All right. 40. You become what you think you are. what you believe you are, what you put in your body, what they advertise, drinking lots of etheric alcohol to attune you and mixing your body fluids with anyone to attune you to your powers. That is not good if you think outside your own genes, right? If you're thinking outside your own genes, you're harming yourself, all right? What a Caucasian person needs for their body is different from what you need, all right? Something that somebody's, that could be their medicine, is your poison, all right? So you're thinking outside your own genes. So number one, you're going to get static because it's not going to do anything for you. And number two, your wisdom of your genes, because for example, you might just be like, oh, I'm not feeling well. You know, something is off. I don't know. If you're in touch with your genetics, the actual plants will speak to you and you'll gravitate to what you need. Because the reality, there's a genetic memory that will gravitate you to know what to do for what. But now you have so much genetics and so many different people's opinions and ideas going on in your head. You're confused and you don't know what's what. Your intuition's off. Your sensor is off. All right. So now Paa Taraq, the very forces of natural nature, doesn't speak to you. All right. Or it's speaking to you, but also so is that speaking to you, and that's speaking to you, and that's speaking to you. And now you're just a confused being. All right. So you're thinking outside your own genetics. 42. The great and notable center or central mirror pyramid of Khafre in Paa Taraq or Tamaray is and was a massive communication device of ritualized, internally esoteric and spiritual information to your information from Sahu, Orion, and Septu, or Sirius. All right. Or Sabat, you'll see in another. All right. So the pyramid was a communication device. Now you see why. Because the pyramid was vibrating. And it was vibrating on the parallel to how those very planets are vibrating. So if they were able to tune into those vibrations, they can get all the wisdom from those places, from their own station. All right. They don't even have to leave. All right. By way of its shape in relation to quartz and sound waves created by Palmyra. Quartz grows in a particular geometrical pattern. All right. So they used quartz. I have quartz. It has to do with crystals. All right. Now we learned also later on, it all has to do with crystals. You learned that your actual Nagaru, right? That the elastin fibers inside your body is actually all crystals. Right? So it's not just like, oh, let me get this crystal so I can be a spiritual being. I mean, I got it because I like it and it feels nice. But you're a walking crystal yourself. Right? So you learn to see everything that's true around you is also can be true inside you. All right. I see Zamal Antoine Lamont.
Baabaa.
Baabaa Zamal.
You know, that is the one thing that I've been using the cell phone for as a tool. I used what's called the Rockmaster app, and what I decided to do was to scan myself and make the discovery of the crystals that we are in fact built of. It was channeled to me to do so. I'm not going to say I don't know why, but I'm just going to say that because I know that, you know, listening to the word that we copper tone people, it just the frequency just led me to do such a thing. So I scanned myself all over my body to find that the different crystals, the molecular structure that I am built of from the flesh. Opal, Adamite, just what formerly known as what they call crystals, in all the different names: fossil, copper itself, Satakite, call it copperite, Malachi, as they I don't really pronunciate them the way that I learned to really in sound. I'm just saying that the way that it's been said, so. And that again, that's what led me to do such a thing. Just in the sound that that was given to me. So it's something I
can you tell me that app? Because I would like to download it.
That one now, I think they discontinued it. But you can use the rock identifiers.
Rock identifiers. Fires. And then you don't just hold it to rock, start holding it to your own body, and you'll notice that you'll have the same crystals inside you, right?
Yes.
That's cool.
This was cool. It was I started out with in the study of the pineal. And so I was just like, okay, well, if the pineal is supposed to be so deep, well, let me see what are the layers that lead to it. What actually builds up the pineal, since that's the first place we started. So I just started scanning. First I started with my hand, and then I went to my head, and going around my head, scanning and getting the different crystals that we are holding. I know that, but I am now.
So that's pretty cool. And if you probably scan like a Caucasian person, they might be lacking certain crystals that you have.
That's true, because I did scan them. I just want to see. I just want to know, what is the word difference?
Right.
I just wanted to share that though, because
I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, I appreciate that. So now you see that as all crystals, right? So the quartz grows in a particular geometrical pattern, all right? So now when you're taking a scan of something, it's going to bounce back that way because of that geometrical pattern. So, for example, that particular crystal, all right, let's say a quartz and an amethyst, they're going to give off a different geometrical pattern because the amethyst has its own DNA. The quartz has its own DNA. They all have their own DNA, so they can't be mistaken for each other. All right. So now all crystals have their own DNA. All right. Or their own geometrical pattern. So that's what you could call DNA geometrical pattern. Same thing. All right. You can interchangeably use those words. So in this instance, though, quartz grows. So Bob's going to use quartz as an example. In the instance, though, quartz grows in the form of a triangle or a pyramid with the angle of 51.43 degrees. All right. So these are quartz crystals. And if I was to be able to break it down to look at all the molecular structure of a quartz crystal, all right, they have found it made it a circle, but the way that it grows and the angles that it gives off, it's made up of a bunch of triangles. All right. And the triangle dimensions are exactly 51. I keep saying 41. 51.43 degrees. All right. So now, if you can get to that same degree, all right, you'll be able to tap into the wisdom of the crystal, all right, of this quartz crystal, for example. So I'll be able to vibrate that quartz crystal if I can master the degrees of its genetics or the geometry of it. All right. So that's the same as the outer walls of Paa Taraq. That's the Great Pyramid. All right. So now you see that the pyramid is in tune with the quartz crystal. That particular pyramid, this one. The interlace angle of the crystal is related to the basal angle. The basal angle is a half of the angle of the tip of the crystal. The interlace the interlatice angle of the quartz is 90 degrees minus the basal angle, which is 38 degrees. Therefore, the interlace angle is 52 degrees. This is also the angle of the Cheops pyramid. All right. So you have another pyramid that is 52 degrees. All right. So these pyramids are interacting with that. So now let's say there's another planet that has crystals, this crystal, the quartz crystal. Then that means if I can vibrate with this crystal right here, I can vibrate with the crystal with that same, I can tap into that crystal on whatever other planet it's on. And then there's also like there's meteorites that come to Earth, and sometimes they carry DNA of things, for lack of a better word, of things not of Earth. All right. So they'll have a new crystal, let's just say, and it's not even from Earth. And they may even find that some people may have certain things in it. So just because we're all, let's say, melanated, we may not even all have the same crystals inside of us. And that's why Baabaa says, stop giving your DNA, because right now where their society is falling apart, they're actually scanning and they're looking for certain things, whether it's food, their medicine, or whatever that they're looking for. And he says, don't start looking for him when you start getting abducted. And people always want to think getting abducted from spaceships, but you might get abducted in a hospital. All right. So you have these different companies that were set up for these purposes. All right. So figure 2. All right. And it's the coordinates. So Baaba's giving you the coordinates of these pyramids, and then giving you the coordinates of the crystals. All right. So you have 52 angles. So this is what it looks like. Notice that the symbol of the quartz crystal looks like the symbol who? Did you notice that? All right. And what is who? Who is the spoken word, the vibration. You have who, Sia, and Hika. All right. So you have who, he. And that's what I see. All right, by those angles. All right. So we Pa Mare or Tamarayans match the angles of this great communication crystal, or the great communicating crystal. The very angle is a natural angle that can be created with the use of circles and a plume line. All right. So that's a compass. All right. That's like old school verbiage, plume line. Pretty much a compass. That's the plume line right there. Sort of circle and square. All right. And you start to dissect the circle. When you start to dissect the circle, you start having angles, which you'll see is sometimes interchanged with angels. Now, when you start dealing with angels, you start dealing with messengers. You can have good messages, bad messages, good angels, bad angels. All right. But it's all wisdom in a circle. You start dividing up the circle. That's what we did here. That's what we do here. That's what happens inside the crystal itself. Nature does it. It divides in on itself. All right. And then it gives its own frequency out. And then you tune into that. All right. And it will tell you something about yourself and life itself. All right. So we're going to read the scroll in 2 days. Okay. So tomorrow we're going to read the other half. So let's continue this page, and then we'll stop at this page. All right. 49, verse 49. This was the method we ancient architects of sacred geometrical buildings used the square and circle. All right. That's why I like to look at this, my square and circle. All right. And I just hold this. All right. As a reminder. It's a reminder for me. So The method we ancient architects of sacred geometrical buildings used a square and circle, and it produced an almost 52-degree angle. That worked beautifully on every level and is mathematically perfect, direct from nature and Paa Taraq. All right. So that's the difference when we're in tune and we're not in tune. All right. Because there was mathematicians that went to Africa. And these mathematicians were saying they didn't understand how these Africans understood, these primal Africans, let's just say the words that they use, they understood to build. It was like however they built their villages, they kept building on a mathematical principle from something very simple, something scale big, and they would say, why did you build it like that? And they just said, because it makes sense. And then they were just blown away, these mathematicians. All right. So they're in tune with the angles and they're in perfect harmony. All right. They're able to sense what nature wants how nature is moving, the very movements. They're in rhythm. All right. So it worked on virtually, let me see, math, and it worked beautifully on every level. What do they mean by every level? Because, for example, we have Zamora Antoine, for example, Lamont Moore. He explained that he scanned himself when he realized that he has the same crystals inside him. You scan the earth, you find out the earth has the same crystals. You scan the air, you may find the same crystal particles, those same angles flying around. I scan this, and I start scanning the bigger planets. So now if I send a frequency, now you know how you can travel to get information on different planets. What you can do is you can send a signal out to, let's just say you send a signal out to the universe, and you will see which of the planets responds. So that's how you know quartz is up there. All right, because you'll see it will come positive by that vibration. So now you can see what elements are, wherever that element is, whether it's on a micro level or cosmic level. All right. Because now you're in the patterns of natural nature. These wondrous natural mathematical workings, and then being real and physical. Any physical construction that would aid the quantum communication would have a magnificent mathematical pattern. All right. Quantum. All right. When you say quantity, when you see how things are put together. All right. When you say quantum physics, that means you're going below physics. You start taking things apart. So you're looking at how to quantify it. All right. So now quantum communication, when I start breaking up this crystal and I'm looking at the angles of its DNA, that's called a quantum communication. All right. And wherever I'm going to see that, I'm going to be able to find it. So by unlocking this secret, I've unlocked that secret wherever I find it. And that's going to be in people. It's going to be in places. It's going to be in things. All right. So now it is time to have a look at the workings of this and use the use of the quartz. All right. The quartz crystal begins its existence deep within Geb, Paa Taraq, the planet Earth, from hot vapors of Anun or Nunets and Noon, or Nuntets and Noon. The primeval liquids, the great vapor, the gaseous form of a substance as liquid or solid, steam of mist, moisture in the air, created by Tefnut and Shu, the birth of ether, invisible moisture, vaporized, vaporous, gas, fog, ether, the substance or fluid that fills space, time, and matter. And in this, the quartz is born. Now realize you can say that about anything that's being born. All right. It's just being born to its own code. All right. So everything is being pulled out of this same vapor. All right. And that's how you know the nature of something, because the reality is that this didn't just randomly occur. All right. There's a certain pattern that's preceding it. So even if I can't see below it, for example, if I go to the certain vapors and a certain pattern before my senses can perceive it, all right, what's produced by it, you know where this came from. All right. You know the whole story behind it, where it's going to grow, because you know the pattern by which that thing should grow, where it came from, how it came there, how long ago. All right. And that'll be true for everything. You could decode everything. All right. So from hot vapor, which is supersaturated solution of silicon dioxide, as it cools, the unit cell of quartz forms or is born around a nucleating site. Nuts, seed, the same way from an oyster forms. And you see that its seed or pearl is born a lustrous jewel of many colors, as well as the shell's inside, also of many colors. And in the midst of the rainbow is born or formed. All right. So you know how you start making rainbows is the same way you start splitting that circle into different frequencies when you start to divide it up. All right. Notice that that can be a rainbow itself, or different sounds when you go around, different angles. All right. So now if you get that right angle, you can get that right color, that right substance, or whatever you're looking for. All right. So now let's just say you want to source that quartz in you. All right. Maybe you don't have a quartz crystal, but now you know you have access to quartz crystal. All right. Because it's around you and it's also inside you. All right. So as it cools, the unit cell of quartz forms and is born of a nucleating site, nut seed, in the same way that an oyster forms. And you see that its seed or pearl is born as a luxurious jewel of many colors, as well as the shells inside, also of many colors, as the mist of a rainbow is born or formed. So also in the oyster, I'm trying to say oyster, you know, that thing that some people eat. Sometimes the way I pronounce words. So also in the oyster, a form of crystallic colors is in form. It is a matrix creating a seed points or nuts and geb. All right. So nuts and geb, things solidifying and the atmosphere to which it's doing it. So now when you have the relationship of nuts and geb, where the man is solid, and then you have the mist, all right, which is causing the environment, that's nuts. All right. So you have environments, and then you have the actual solid. All right. You have the solids in the environment. All right. And that's how matrix is starting to be born. All right. So you have moisture and air. Moisture and air starts to create pressure, things start to be pressurized, and then it starts to solidify. So now from moisture and air, you say shoe and tough nut. All right, so shoe and tough nut first. That's moisture and air. Then it starts to pressurize. All right, like how you know how crystals are pressurized over a great time. Like carbon starts to compress into a diamond. All right. So same thing with the development of things. So moisture and air pressurized, then it started to solidify over time. All right. To give birth to another state. Now then you'll start having nuts and geb. Because nut would be your pressurizer and geb would be what's being pressurized. All right. Then you have the next stage of development after that. All right. So informant atoms and or cells and bonding are laid down where there is the energy. The molecules adhering to the base silicone matrix. All right. When you say matrix, it's like the matrix. Now you know the matrix of quartz crystals, the triangles. All right. And you start putting together the matrix of something, and then you start building upon it. That's the matrix. All right. So the silicone matrix. All right. Because we know that the crystals are made up of silicone. All right. And the silicone starts to build upon itself. So now it creates a silicone matrix, and it builds upon itself, and now you start have the scaffolding. And now if you understand the scaffolding of the way something's put together, now you can tap into whatever that thing is. So you're tapping into the matrix or to the scaffolding, all right? The angles. So the molecules are here into the base silicone matrix. There is another in the human body that is not found in outer space. It is all made of the same elements. I think that's a typo. It's supposed to say that is. Sometimes, people are typing this up. All right, so let's read that again. There is another in the human body that is found in outer space, and it is all made of the same elements, atoms, cells. All is in the parts of Paa Taraq, the all. Expanding and contracting, breathing inward and outward, the breath of life of existence, the whole of the universe is born out of dark space matter, triple darkness. All right, so you can find the same elements inside of you that you find in space. Because how can you put the earth together without space matter? And how would you be on the earth and grow from the earth without coming from that pressurized existence? You have the very same elements. All right, made up of a tetrahedron-shaped molecule. All right, tetrahedron is another way of saying pyramid. A tetrahedron-shaped molecule, and is now composed of 4 atoms of oxygen and 1 silicone atom suspended within. All right, so that's why they like the pyramid structure so much. Because why didn't they build spheres? Why didn't they build monolithic domes? Why didn't they build triangle buildings? They built that specifically, all right, as a tetrahedron, all right, or as a pyramid, because it was in tune with the crystals, all right, particularly the quartz crystal. All right, made up of a tetrahedron-shaped molecule, and is now composed of 4 atoms of oxygen and 1 silicon. All right, so this is how that molecule. So you have all these atoms; they come together to create this molecule, and then these molecules come together to create a matrix, and now you have the scaffolding in a building. All right, and I think that that's a great place for us to end. So we get a moment to digest our scroll, and we're going to come back and finish reading the rest of the scroll tomorrow. All right. So before we wrap up for today, I would like for anybody to feel free to unmute. I see Zamar Antoine Lamont.
I just wanted to improvise in that all that you just shared. I've been looking for this information for too long. I'm glad I finally got to it. I look in my palm, and everything that you just showed in that book right there is what's in my palm.
Mm-hmm.
Every last one of them angles that you just is very good. Look how you smile. It's very good. That's exactly what happened to me. Look in there. There's your compass. That is how it is being known for how we do things and how we move etherically.
Right.
As it was saying that you were given the very. No, you're doing well. You're doing well, because the smile is what it produced.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's another. Those are the angles, that we in the outer space. So as it showed you, outer layers, is the flesh that we possess, and it gives you the wholeness when you look into it. Okay, some things that I came in a little late doing this reading, but these are the things that I've been given without reading. This knowledge is what I've been attending, and it'd be hard to explain to, when I want to break bread with people, but then they ask that very question: how do you know all of this? and I didn't have a place for them to guide, to like say the word books. I just know this because obviously I'm natural. So there's something else about that. So I've been accused of being a pyramid builder. I said, well, I think that, too, when you learn this, about your sensitives, matters, your intuition, as they use it, become more intuitive with nature. And as I always used to say, natural, uh, these, the sounds that I hear are the very things that, clear quartz, clear quartz is
Yeah.
what I produce in angles, as you kept on using the word angels, and then also its language, you know, uh, in the hertz, by the way. The hertz produce the frequency, and the frequency becomes broadband. So that's your three-way, you know, to being exposed as your being. Yeah. So I'm sitting here smiling the whole time while while you showing these diagrams, and I'm just like, that's what's in my hand. Every last one of those is what's in my hand, and that's how I work too. Because I'm a carpenter, I'm a landscaper. I do a lot of things in nature mostly, but I build in everything that I do, and I'm really good at it. So it's but I'm loving what I'm attending right here. I just needed to say that if everyone that is attending this right now, take a look in your palms, and you may find those angles all in your palms, and they're also on the bottom of your feet. So if you don't see them there, then you will see them in the others. You know, but they are there, so that you may recognize, what you are, even a little bit more. So I just needed to share that though too.
I
I
appreciate you
tuned in at the
sharing that.
right time.
Yes, you did. I appreciate you sharing that. And then also, I'm seeing like the very bending, because not just the skin itself, but you start to look at the actual structure. Then you realize that the very same matrix that built uh the cosmos is the same very matrix that built you. All right. So you're seeing the same angles in nature that you're seeing inside yourself. Even the very hoo-hee, I'm seeing like the two circles in my hand and the way it's put together and the way it's bending. And I'm like, okay,
There you go. There you
it's
go. That's not.
I can see that.
That's what it
I can
was.
see it. Yeah. So getting us back on our genetics, having us respect our genetics, our planet again. We could respect the planet again. We respect our very structures and everything else that we've been overlooking. And that's going to be very healing. And then we're going to get all that wisdom of everything that ever was and everything that grew, the whole matrix of powers. All right. Not just this universe, but all universes. So I appreciate that, Zamal Antoine. And we're going to continue reading this book tomorrow. So I hope that you're here tomorrow as well. Same time.
I'm gonna do my best. I'm on the west coast of the Americas. I'm in just between Washington and California, a little known place named Oregon. But
Okay.
I'll do my best though. I do have it when I see it, but yet I be in a noisy environment because I be doing my work. So
Okay.
um, I want to, and I will. But if I'm not able to speak, please excuse me in that purpose.
All right. Well, I appreciate you sharing those jewels, literally sharing those jewels, those quartz and the apps on how we can look at to find the jewels. It reminds me of Baabaa saying, mind your mind for the jewels of your soul. And a lot of us are looking for our soul out there, and we've been overlooking what's going on in here, you know. in our very hands too. So I appreciate that. Anybody else has anything they'd like to share about the scroll or just in general that you think can help us? And we're going to come back tomorrow too. All right. So with that being said, that's a great place for us to wrap up for today. Tawakum Moisar for coming together to read this classic scroll called Tone, Sound, DNA Molecules, Vibrational Frequencies. All right. So just take time to resonate, right? Resonate on what you read today. And we're going to come back together again tomorrow. So I Shug Moisar and Wadu.
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 He's only afraid of you. He's afraid of this unity. He's afraid of us coming together. He's afraid of the power that we generate when we get together. That we become in one accord. We start focusing our mind on anything and start chanting on that, things start happening. Because God said what? I'll breathe my spirit into you and you became a living soul. You ain't a man, you're a living soul. He's a man. You're a spirit incarnating. And you have the power to project that energy. But you've confined yourself to the body. And in that you've confined yourself to certain places in space and time. You've limited yourself by accepting the confinement to the body. When you can think right now from here back to your house.